Welcome to episode 181 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. It's 181 light. It is just me currently. We have a guest, but my co-hosts are all missing. Robert had an important business thing, so he's not here tonight. And then my wife and I were informed about 15 minutes before we went on that my daughter needed shorts for her volleyball game tomorrow. So Katie's not here. She will be here maybe, I don't know, in an hour. Depends on how long it takes for them to buy volleyball shorts. So, but it is me. So let me go ahead and knock out our advertising stuff and we can get to talking about reptiles. I don't have the rundown Katie does for Robert. So if you're looking for a PVC rack or cage or acrylic cages or signs or anything carved out of, the regular spiel if you listen to this. If you're looking for a good rack or a cage, look up lsreptileracks.com. Robert will help you get you all set up with a rack, a cage, a sign, whatever you want. Reach out to Robert and you can do that. Again, Katie will do that much better than me, but she's not here, so that's what y'all get. Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors is a small feeder and pet supply business based in San Antonio, and they regularly schedule feeder meetups around San Antonio as well as other neighboring towns and cities. They offer shipping on their feeder insects, isopods, and are working on starting shipping on their feeder rodents too. All feeders are raised on a nutritional diet that optimizes the health of the reptiles and amphibians that consume them. Definitely reach out to Lil Shop of Horrors. That's LIL''S Shop of Horrors for your feeder needs. I love my rodents I got from them. You should definitely reach out. Katie is commenting in the thing that my daughter's now currently trying on shorts. So that could take forever. So maybe Katie will do that before the end of the show. We'll see. Then I know I'm missing some. Oh, Herb's Reptile Shows. Normally I have people here to help me out with this. Herb's Reptile Shows. We have coming up on September 9th and 10th is the big one in Conroe, Texas. Come out and see us. We will all be at that show. Then September 16th and September 17th is Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is technically Gonzales, Louisiana, but it's Baton Rouge, Louisiana. October 21st, October 22nd, it's Waco, Texas. November 4th, November 5th is Lake Charles. I think we'll all be at that one as well. That's pretty close to home. West Monroe, Louisiana on November 18th and 19th. Over to Austin, Texas, December 2nd and December 3rd. I think we're going to try and aim for that one as well. Slidell, Louisiana, December 9th. December 10th, and then Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, January 13th and January 14th, which none of us will be at. That is too far away. Robert will be at probably all of these, most likely. If so, get you a cage or a rack, call him, get it ordered. He'll deliver it to you. Also, if you need a great UVB bulb, an LED UVB bulb from VivTech Products, check them out and use code GUMBO22 to save 15% on your bulbs and all the smart devices they have. So go check out VivTech Products. It's a great bulb. That thing will last you forever. So that means you need to buy more reptiles so you can buy more bulbs and then use our code GUMBO22. It helps us out. So go do that. All right. So let's go ahead and get to my guests since it's just me rambling to myself in here because everybody ran away and left me alone tonight. Here we go. Our guest tonight is Ryan, and I'm assuming it's pronounced Dumas.
Nice job.
Yeah, there we go, because the other way would be way funnier. But Ryan Dumas of RAD Reptiles. And the what is it? Turtle.
Let's Talk Turtles.
Let's Talk Turtles podcast. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, and it's not because I don't want to listen to it, because I really do. But I found that since I do a podcast, I don't actually listen to podcasts anymore. Somehow I no longer have time to listen to podcasts, and I hate it. But I always wanted to talk about turtles, and I can't find anybody on here to come on here and talk turtles with me, or tortoises at least, because I like tortoises, but because water is gross.
No, they're all great. I'm happy to talk about our little shell dogs with you.
So what all do you because I know you keep turtles and tortoises. What all do you keep though? Because
I do.
Because I've known your name for a while because of snakes.
Yep. That's still I work a lot with carpet pythons and some rat snakes. Oops, sorry. Apologies. I know this is live. I forget. I'm getting some loud. Okay. I really got into actually herpetoculture with carpet pythons, coastals in particular. And when I decided to take a jump into it, I wanted to get into something that at the time I thought was a recessive gene, just because I thought it had a lot of staying power and it was a pretty gene. So I work a lot with xanthic coastal carpet pythons. And I've been working with those since 2015. So not a horribly long time, but I've been keeping reptiles for over 20 years. And actually, I just transitioned out of being a zookeeper for the last 18 years. And I'm now a conservation biologist with our county park system. So a little bit of a a little bit of a shift. So I have a lot of herpetoculture experience. But yeah, I started out with carpet pythons and rat snakes. Those are my favorites until the turtles and tortoises started infiltrating my collection. And now I'm kind of 50-50, but I'm a little more passionate about the turtle and tortoises. I don't know what it is about them. I think they're charismatic. I think you get a lot more reward.
Well, it's definitely personality.
Yeah, there's a little return on your investment in a different way. Not like a dog per se or a cat, but like you get a little more back for the time you invest into them. There's a little charisma there. And honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with the snake community. I love it. I'm still a part of it, but the turtle community is just a little different. There's different focuses because it's really hard to scale, no pun intended. So there's just some different focuses there, and folks are more concerned and focused with conservation and preservation in some way. But that's how I start off, right? Start off by trying to divide the snake and tortoise people.
Go for it. Well, it's funny. We talk on our show all the time about the different kind of groups in the reptile hobby, and it's definitely weird. I get it with snakes. Snakes is very easy, and I've done it, and I keep doing it. It's very easy to get too many, and it's very easy to get too many and still take care of them properly. It's because they are so easy. And one of the reasons I don't have turtles is because I know how lazy I am. And I know the effort it takes into just like keeping a filter clean. And I do pretty good on my one fish tank. I couldn't imagine let me rewind. The one species of aquatic turtle I really
You froze on me. Or did I freeze? Oh, it's just me. Hi, if anyone's watching, thanks for listening to me. Turtles are fantastic, and carpet pythons are also great, and all the herpetoculture communities are wonderful. So continue supporting everybody and become a USARC member. Definitely check out the Let's Talk Turtles podcast. It's a good one. My friend Tom Arbor, Two Turtle Tom, is my co-host. He's awesome. He's a great follow as well. If you want to learn a lot about hingeback tortoises, he's the guy to follow. So check him out on YouTube and check him out on our Let's Talk Turtles podcast. We actually just released one today.
I'm back. Here we go.
Hey. Oh, I was going by myself right there.
Oh, I knew you would. The great thing is for the folks watching live, they'll get to listen to that wonderful talk. But because I record everything on external, they'll get to hear me ramble about being in nowhere land and having nothing to talk about. So if you're listening to this in the car right now, later on, I apologize. I'm sure Ryan was amazing. If you're listening live, you got to listen to Ryan talk about all his stuff and not hear me ramble about my crap breaking down on me.
No, you're good. I saw you exit the studio, so I just was like, well, if anyone's watching, I can't see the number on. So I was just like, I'll just keep talking so they're here. They listen to something. Not just me twiddling my thumbs, but
there's people in the comments, they're used to it. They're like, he'll be back, and I was back. Our internet, look, we pay a ton for internet just for it to crash on us right when we need it.
That's what they're best at.
God, it's ridiculous. But so what I was saying is, as far as turtles go, I don't keep turtles because I know how lazy I am with cleaning them. But the one turtle I really want, I can't keep in Texas. I want diamondback terrapins, and we can't own them here, and that sucks because they're, I think, the coolest little turtle. They don't get big, and they have such great personality. I'll rewind because I know you don't know this, but I used to be a zookeeper as well. I found that every zookeeper used to be a zookeeper, and no one is still a zookeeper because it sucks being poor. And I am jealous of your job because you went into the job I'd probably want. I went into teaching because that was the other option. If you're someone with a biology background, it's leave zookeeping and either go into working a state job, which are hard to get, or teaching, which is the route I took.
Yeah, I mean, I can corroborate that because I was looking hard into that as well. Um, and I was ready to kind of pursue that a little bit, and then something kind of popped up, and it just worked out. And this is my first week, so I've been a terrible communicator with you as we're leading up
Oh,
to
it's
the
fine.
show because I am wiped out with some of the stuff I've been up to. So, and just being inundated with information that is fairly new to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You
it's been a crazy week.
you either get a biologist job or you teach biology, or if you're Owen, you sell insurance. That's the other
Or you
option.
go into sales. That is your third option. There's a lot of folks get into real estate. There's a lot of folks
Yeah.
who you just get into sales in one way or the other. So I see that a lot as well.
It sucks because so many people that used to be zookeepers would love to still be zookeepers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember when I worked for a small zoo that was owned by the city. So the pay scale was public. And I remember seeing that I was getting paid the same as the guy on the back of a garbage truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I have a degree. Like I went to 4 years of college to make the same as the guy on the back of the garbage truck. And I'm not downplaying that guy either, but I'm just saying, God, I didn't make anything. I joke all the time with people. I became a teacher to make more money.
Yeah. I get that for sure. I'm one of the lucky ones who I left on my own terms to pursue something else. I was happy, and Ohio zoos, weirdly enough, most of them pay comparatively well to other zoos. But this was just I had recently been doing a lot of field work at the zoo and some of our properties. And I was really digging it. I was like collecting the data and designing these experiments and being involved that way. And there was, I mean, just fate lined up, and there was a job that really mixes well with that,
Yeah.
that I was qualified for, and kind of went through that process. So I was very fortunate. But you're right, though. A lot of zookeepers, they get in it, they love it. The passion is there, and zoos. I love zoos. They are great at taking advantage of folks' passion.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Well,
It's a competitive industry, and they don't pay well. There's always a plethora of folks. Like, I'm sure they've already posted my position like a day after I turned in my 2 weeks. And
it's such a weird job because one, it's a job at a lot of places that want you to have experience, but it's again one of those jobs where you can't have experience without having a job. So they want you to have volunteered for free at a zoo. So they want you to have not made money prior to them barely paying you money. And then yeah, everybody wants those jobs. There's tons of them. Like so when I left the zoo I was at, I later interviewed for a zoo that I really wanted to work at. And it was like soul crushing. I got down to being the last two people for the job. And the day they were supposed to make the decision, my dad was visiting, and we're like, well, let's go play golf. I can't sit around and just wait for the phone call. Let's go play golf. And of course I got a call on the golf course that I was second place to the first place. I was like, well, that's soul crushing to know that I was so close and one other person got it. But I remember interviewing originally right out of college, and one zoo told me what they paid, and then they explained that their keepers a lot of times will room together at apartments, and they find a way to make it. And I'm like, that is not the selling point. Finding a way to make it is rough.
Yeah, I mean, I had a second job through most of that time. It wasn't until I got to the Cincinnati Zoo that I finally shed the second job. So, I worked at the National Aquarium in DC, and then I worked at Bronx Zoo, and and then came back here. So a lot of places in between, and it is a struggle. So I'd be happy to, if anyone, whoever's listening and is interested in zookeeping, I would be happy to talk to you about it. If you want to just message me, I can give you some pointers if you're interested, and give you some maybe real talk. But it's a wonderfully rewarding career. I enjoyed every single moment of it. The folks that I met, the animals I worked with, and the work that I got done was incredible. It was just time for me to move on. So it felt like the right time, and the opportunity was there. So that's what ended up happening there. But
it is great work, and there are things I totally miss every day. Like, okay, I work with teenagers. That sucks. I totally miss being almost eaten by crocodiles on a daily basis. That was way more fun to me than having to deal with a teenager who does not want me to tell them about mitosis. Like,
yeah, which one's more dangerous?
I'm far more afraid of dying as a teacher. I can tell you right now, I'm far more afraid of dying. I worked at a zoo, and you tell people, yeah, I worked with like gaboon vipers and rattlesnakes. Like, did you ever get bit? It's like, no, I was good at my job. I don't know. It seems like a weird question to ask somebody. But, and then my wife also worked at the zoo. She worked in the education department. So it was a double whammy on being poor.
Yeah, that gets you.
But
and the further south you go in zoos, the less they pay. That's just there's a strong correlation because the further north you go, the more unions you run into. And
I can tell you, I don't miss 100-degree summers deep in a concrete pool, bleaching the algae out of it. Like that's one step away from passing out and just like it gets bad down there.
See, nowadays you got to leave a little bit of that algae because it's welfare. It's good for that animal. You don't want clear water.
Well, that's the problem. Our setups were fresh water being pumped in, like city water being pumped in, and they weren't.
Yeah.
So, and they get green very fast. But like I said, I miss it. But I've got enough animals at home now that, I mean, I don't have crocodilians, and I'd kill to have a Chinese alligator again. But literally kill. If someone wants to offer me one, and there's someone you need killed, there's a chance I'll probably kill that person for a Chinese alligator. Just saying, just offering it out there. But
just be on your good side.
Yeah, but I do miss it. I have become a better keeper since I stopped being a zookeeper, though. It was very hard. It was very hard to come home all day doing it, and then want to go and clean at home, like clean cages.
I can see that.
That was a hard thing to do.
Burnout's real too.
Yes,
you can hit the burnout at work, and that'll burn out at home. But what it used to get me over the edge is that I had full control over this stuff at home. Like if I wanted to do something, I could do that. If I wanted to offer a food item, I could just go buy it and offer it to them. And that made me feel good. Plus it was animals that I really, really liked and wanted to, like, I made that choice to be interested in them. So that helped. But there are definitely times where it's just like, you know what, I'll just take a day.
Well, and
I can wait till tomorrow.
Yes, that the unfortunate part of that can wait for tomorrow in some situations is that can wait for tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes, you're like, I can wait till tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into a week. You're like, oh shit, I have not been in my reptile room for a week. Now that has not been the issue since I've quit, but it was a problem then. But it's funny the experience that different zookeepers have at different zoos, because not all zoos are created equal. Even not all AZA zoos, because I worked at an AZA zoo, they're not all created equal. I worked at a very small one, so what you're allowed to get away with is different than say at a larger zoo, right?
Did you have a nutritionist there?
No.
Yeah, so that changes things, and I enjoyed having the nutritionist there. Great resource, but they'd be like, "No, I don't feel comfortable with you feeding this out," and you're like I wanted to feed pumpkins as enrichment to the big crocs because they love to just smash them and it floats around, and I just have to clean it out the next day. And our nutritionist was like, I don't know, that can cause gastrointestinal stuff. So I sent her an email with 7 links to different zoos feeding their crocodiles pumpkin. And surprisingly enough, I still got a no.
You just want to be like, look, these guys eat the rotten ass of a zebra in the wild and they're fine.
I think they'll be okay.
I think a pumpkin's gonna be all right.
I mean, they're not going to eat the whole freaking pumpkin like that. Yeah. They're just going to smash it into bits and enjoy themselves. Like, that's fun.
I did learn quickly that the bad enrichment was a live carp. So we gave live carp to like bears and some of the big cats and all. We put them in their pools and let them catch them and eat them because we had a huge koi pond and live carp and carp area where kids could feed. And so we could catch and feed the carp, not the koi, but we could feed the giant grass carp. And I was like, oh, this would be cool. Let me give it to the Nile crocodiles. And I didn't think about the fact that they're going to grab it and then sling it. And the carp doesn't stay in one piece and it doesn't all stay inside the enclosure.
Ooh.
So that was a quick lesson learned. I was like, well, they enjoyed it. They had tons of enrichment and they had fun. But it did get messy.
That sling is fun to watch. We had a Nile croc at the Bronx that was good at that. We'd give it a giant guinea pig. You know, they raise their snout up and then somehow swing it and slam it on the ground, and then there'd be like guinea pig guts all over the glass. And we'd have to do that in the morning so we could wash all the guts off the glass. Yeah, and then I tried it with my croc at Cincinnati Zoo, and I'd give her giant things, and she wouldn't do anything. She was just not into it. She would mangle it and chew it up, and then leave it, and I'd have to get it out of the filter the next day.
I miss the personality of crocodilians. The personality of crocodilians is great.
They are probably my favorite reptile. Like if I had unlimited funds and nothing to worry about, I would definitely keep a lot of crocodilians. Well, they are just awesome.
Well, for a small zoo, we had quite a bit. We had American crocs, American alligators. We had Nile crocs, slender snout crocs, dwarf crocs, Chinese alligator.
Dang.
So, and the Chinese alligator, that's where I fell in love with Chinese alligators. They're freaking amazing. They're calm. They don't get big. To me, they need to not make them illegal. They need to not go through the hassle of all the paperwork. And I get it. They're protected, whatever. But they'd be such a better pet alligator than American alligators.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably would. I find it interesting. All the Chinese gators I've worked with have been jerks.
Really? Why did you use ours for education?
They are aggressive, and the ones I worked with at the Bronx and the ones at Cincinnati Zoo all were a little more of the obnoxious type.
Oh no, I used to use ours for education all the time. I just go in, pick him up. I put a rubber band on his mouth just because it was being around people.
Yeah, he was great. I think if we worked with one young enough, it probably would get there. All the ones I worked with like a 60-year-old. Like,
oh no, these were all at the zoo as babies and grew up there.
Totally different scenario then. Yeah, there's down a lot with some handling.
There's a crocodile park like 20 minutes from our house, and we got
Chris.
Yeah, and he walked me behind the scenes, and I got to see all like 50 baby Chinese alligators. I'm like, son of a bitch. And no one I was with would steal me one. I was so pissed off.
Wouldn't even notice.
He would never have noticed one missing.
I sent a few from Cincinnati Zoo down to him.
Have you ever?
He's got some of ours. No.
Oh, that place is amazing.
It looks awesome. That guy's living the dream in a lot of ways.
But he's got a ton of Chinese alligators. I'm just saying, I've got a house. I'll find a way to make room for it.
Yeah, and they're temperature tolerant too. I mean, those things. I mean, you brumate them down to 50 degrees, 45 degrees. Like they are on our latitude, like here in Cincinnati. Like they are really tolerant and cool animals. They would make.
I mean, you're talking like 5 foot, 4 to 5 foot, fairly calm if you get as a baby. You don't have to worry about like the American alligator issues where if it's a male, it's going to be 12 foot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just crazy. Oh, my friend of mine she must be watching, just said Chris Dieter's a school teacher too. Oh, I didn't realize Dieter was a school teacher.
I didn't. I've had a conversation with 2 of them. Seems like a great guy. He has
awesome.
Lots of sterling referrals. So
yeah. But yeah, no,
I would endorse that place.
I miss working with crocodiles. I almost got eaten by an owl once. That was fun. We had a massive American croc. The great thing is learning their personalities, right? Because you learn how they work. So we had a huge 11, 12-ish foot male American crocodile. And he took up all of his pond. He was in an older exhibit and took up all of his pond. But when I had to get in there, the problem was to drain it. You had to reach over the edge of the fence to the pond to drain it where he's sitting. So that was always fun. But he's kind of like, once you got him out of the water, he knew. He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go lay over here on the ground, do what you got to do in there. And he would never come after you. But if he was in the water, it was a completely different animal. And he was going to protect that pool. And that's always fun to watch.
That's cool. I never got to work with an adult American croc. The one I had was an adult female.
Oh yeah.
She was cool for a while. We did target training and stuff with her and conditioning. And then when she laid eggs every 2 years and fertile eggs. And then the last time she laid eggs, she just got really defensive and aggressive and made it very difficult to work with her, even with 2 people. Like she would just kind of charge at us. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. But she was so easy to train. I had her shifting really. I just call her like 3 knocks and I'd be like, Leslie, shift. And she'd just come running into her shift. I could work on the exhibit. Like they're smart animals.
Well, ours when I got there, its name was Bertha. And I was like, man, this is massive for a female. There's no way this thing's a female, but like no one had sexed it. It had been there forever. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a male, but we kept calling her Bertha. And then after I left, he actually died. He from what I understood, a chicken bone had cut him on the way in and caused an infection internally, and he died from an infection internally from a chicken bone. Which is like
terrible way to go.
I know, and I was like, that really sucks because it was an awesome crocodile. But yeah, they found out later on. They're like, oh yeah, it's a male. I was like, well, that makes way more sense because that's that big. That had to be a male. Your microphone's not on, Katie. There you go.
I ran up the stairs and now I can't breathe.
Katie's back. Katie, Ryan, Katie.
Hello.
Nice.
You did wonderful when he lost internet at the house.
Oh yeah.
I was watching from Academy.
All right. Yeah, I was just kind of plugging all my stuff. I was telling everyone I follow my co-host. And
it was great. You did great. I was like, I don't even know if you can see my messages, but it's okay. You're doing great.
Yeah. So you're no longer a zookeeper. So now you can tell. Do you have any close calls with any animals?
Never. As
That's
funny
awesome.
as that is, like nothing. The probably working with young king cobras definitely is like a sphincter clencher.
Yeah.
Because they just don't. They're not necessarily aggressive. They just move, and they don't care to sit on a hook. They will flop on the ground, and then you're scrambling like get up, get up, get up, get up. So those are some of the higher energy stuff. But probably the see the thing that's hard to train your mind is like vipers and snakes shed their teeth and their fangs, and you will take a venomous snake out. You'll go to have a glove on, go to grab up a chunk of poop, and then you get tagged by the fang in their poop. And like intellectually, your brain knows that venom went through their digestive tract. That's a denatured protein. You are totally fine. And that's easy to think of unless you just got punctured with an eastern diamondback rattlesnake fang.
Yeah.
So I don't know about other folks. Yeah, you just sit down for a second. You're like, am I imagining some crap? And you are, because it's not.
You're like, is this?
There's not. Like it's in their poop. Like it. Yeah. But so that was probably that's probably the most anxiety I had ever had. Most of the time I've been pretty calm because I at least had experience and training, and a lot of great folks around me and area and some facilities that had really good infrastructure in that. So you felt comfortable, but no, weirdly enough, I cannot recall something that was super close.
I was always worried cleaning venomous snake cages because of shed fangs, because I had all this bedding in there, and then you're scooping so I was always making sure to use a pan to scoop and tried never to use my hand because with my luck there'd be a fang somewhere in there, and that did scare the crap out of me.
And then you got to think of things like live bears. Like you may take the mom out, but there's a lot of hidden pregnancies, or
there was after
there's parthenogenesis, and so you don't know if there's babies in there. They're going to tag you as soon as you put your hand in there. And
after I left the zoo, I was visiting one day, and I was actually talking to the director, and it was like an event or something, and she got a call over the radio that someone was like, "There's a baby snake in the snake house," and I was like, I didn't work there anymore. I was like, "Look, I'll run over there real quick and go look for you. There's not going to be a baby snake in the snake house. That's stupid." So I ran over there, and I walk in, I'm like, oh fuck, there's 2 baby canebrakes in the canebrake enclosure that has never been with a male. There are definitely baby snakes in here. So that was interesting. I had a friend who had copperheads, and he went in one day, took the copperhead out, and went to go move a bowl, and there comes a little head popping up out of the bedding. I was like, dude, that's scary as hell. Like you're not expecting that.
You just have to have your wits about you, and that's why going to a zoo that has some training and infrastructure in place is really, really important to kind of teach you some of those if you haven't already done it. The Bronx laid down the framework for most of my venomous knowledge, and I carried that through the rest of my career.
I never had to work with colubrids. Like the only colubrid was like coral snakes, and coral snakes are pansies when it comes to colubrids. They're very easy to work with. They're just small, so you have to be careful. But so all of my stuff was native vipers, or we had a gaboon viper, and that was interesting because that was on the job training because I had no venomous experience prior to that, and then I got hired, and they're like, "All right, you're the keeper, and this is your snake now." I'm like, "Awesome!" And we had this huge, she was big old girl, and it was a cool enclosure. It was a room. It was set up to like an African tent, like on safari, and it had like a chalkboard in the back that had facts about the gaboon viper, and it's like the bite can be fatal, but the fatal like squiggles off at the end. Like the person died.
Oh.
So, and it had like a desk in the middle and a heat lamp under it for delay and all that. And so it was cool. And then I went on like vacation, came back, and they're like, yeah, your female died. She had infertils in her that never came out, and she got an infection and died. I was like, fuck. Okay. And so then we got another one, and that one decided it didn't want to eat for 8 months.
Yeah.
So then they're like, all right, well, we got to catch it by hand and give it injections. I was like, well, I've never done that, so that'll be fun. So tube the head, and I mean that will pucker you. Like I know its head's in a tube, but I'm holding a gaboon viper, and I've never held one. And every time we had to do it, I'm like, this is the scariest thing. And okay, and here's the other funny fact: we didn't have antivenom, which is why after I left, they ended up AZA was like, you have to send that to another zoo, and they did, and they got it back once they got antivenom. So our rule at the zoo was don't get bit. That was basically the rule.
That's everyone's number one rule.
And I was like, well, I guess if anybody gets bit, it's probably better if it's me because I'm the biggest person. I could probably last the longest until the venom gets here. But yeah, we didn't have any. So having to get it by hand and give it injections will get your heart going.
I didn't have to do any of that fun stuff in the education department. I just dealt with people.
Well, but like gaboons, they huff.
That's scarier.
That's what a lot of people would say.
Little kids are
A
horrible.
lot of people were like, I will deal with the animals any day.
I'll take the Gaboon over a bunch of 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
But
you got to be careful with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you got to be careful with the Gaboon bites because we're learning more and more about like their reactions and how much antivenom is used. There's a guy recently who took over 50 vials of antivenom for a Gaboon bite. So
Holy cow.
It's making a lot of zoos kind of double think how much you keep on hand because usually you want 2 doses. I
need you to stop because I want a Gaboon one day, and I need you not to tell Katie this.
There will be lots of research
Gaboons are fine,
before
Katie.
it ever comes in.
Also, I'm not one that will ever lay hands on it.
Exactly.
My thing is not there's a handful of venomous snakes I want, a handful, like 3 that I want.
I was about to say a handful. The last I checked, it was like 2 or 3.
And I never plan on laying hands on them. I'm not one that's like, I want to hold this thing because that's stupid as hell.
The fact that you
is
have
very dumb.
The background that you have is a very strong reason why one day you will be able to have it.
So I want a Gaboon. I want a Gila monster. I know it's not a snake, it's a lizard, but I want a Gila monster.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like a really pretty copperhead. I really like copperheads.
So it's funny that you brought up copperheads. So I don't know. I didn't hear James really kind of explain me. So it's other than the fact that I used to work in the education department, but now I'm also a teacher. We're both teachers. And this week in 4th grade, our reading that we do at the very beginning of the day, we have one passage we read all week and we answer questions each day. And this week it's all about copperheads, which is super cool. Like my kids are loving it. Of course, they're super bummed that Luna, my corn snake, is not at the school yet, but we still don't have a working elevator. So there's that.
Oh.
You can carry that cage upstairs.
I don't want to carry her cage up the stairs.
I'm just saying you can.
So you could come do it for me.
Nope, I said you can.
Anyways, so the article is really awesome though, but it talks about it talks about like where they live and what they eat and
does it say they smell like cucumbers? Please don't tell me.
It does not say anything about how they smell.
Thank God.
I did tell them, fun fact, they can climb trees.
They can climb trees. Found that out.
We found that out the hard way.
I had to go do a snake removal for a place, and she had like 6 copperheads on a tree line in her yard. There was one big female and a bunch of males, and they were just cruising back and forth. And I'd caught some, and I was like, well, let me walk into the woods to see if I can try and find some.
He stopped right before. Something made him stop.
I stopped. Let me look up, and I looked straight up.
And there it was, like right in front of his face.
Like 6-7 foot up in the tree. I was like, oh, there's a copperhead.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Because my first thought was they eat cicadas. Cicadas are in trees. Let me look in a tree.
So it actually mentions that in the article that they eat cicadas. And that's when I brought up and they can climb.
That fucker was in a tree at eye level.
Oh. But yeah, so it's been fun. I mean, last week we read about a cat who
cats suck. We can skip the cats.
Yeah, like it wasn't. It was just like a fun little story about a cat. Like it wasn't.
There's no fun stories about cats.
It wasn't even nonfiction. And this one's
I upset people on my Facebook because I posted a meme about
a lot of fun
killing feral cats.
Yeah,
hey,
normal.
People have their cats and keep them inside.
Inside, I'm cool.
Oh yeah,
keep your indoor cats.
I'm just allergic.
Everything else, I don't know about that. No, I'm jealous of you guys being able to talk about keeping venomous at some point. I would love to keep something venomous at some point, but my wife is allergic to hoof stock like goats and horses. And if you're familiar with how antivenom is made, it makes it impossible. So
that would suck.
It's too much of a risk.
Absolutely.
So I would never, not even a Gila monster, just in case.
Kudos to you for being like cool with that.
You know what? Just don't care about your wife like me. And
right.
screw.
Shut up, James.
No. I'm a sucker. She's the light of my life. So
I am for him. He just won't admit it out loud to people.
Whatever.
He says it in a different way. Everyone has their own dialect.
I don't want a ton of venomous, but I love one. The other one I really want is an Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake. We had a big female, and they're just to me the ultimate when it comes to venomous snakes. I love a big 7-foot Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake.
They're impressive. See, I like the smaller ones.
The smaller
old red dusky pygmies or something.
Those are pretty.
I like
the color.
Squamidra, like the Atheris stuff. I like that, but I will like it from afar.
So did we? There was one part from when I wasn't here that I missed,
What?
and I wasn't sure. Did we go into what type of turtles?
No, we
you
haven't
get
got
we haven't gotten there yet.
No.
We're
Okay.
talking about zoo stuff first.
Well, I wasn't sure,
And then
so
we're
I
gonna-
just wanted to make sure because I was curious.
So the reason I jumped
love
into the
turtles.
zoo stuff because we were talking turtles, and the one I wanted to keep was diamondback terrapins.
Yes,
And at the zoo in Louisiana where we worked, we had 3 diamondback terrapins.
there also were babies at one point.
Were there? Oh, there were.
Yeah, our daughter actually remember. She in the car. She was like, "Do you remember when the babies were born? They were so little and they were so cute." And I was like, "Yeah, I remember."
But
we
I
still
just-
can't have them.
Oh,
Can't have them here. It sucks. But those were one of my favorite little turtles to work with. I do like alligator snapper turtles just because they're cool, but I don't want to keep an alligator. It's a boring.
I don't ever
To me, it's a
wanna keep
boring
one.
turtle to keep as a pet.
alligator snapper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of my
that's one of my
favorites.
favorites.
Oh, I love them. We had huge, like 90-pound alligator snapper, 100-pound alligator snappers, but like as a pet,
I have no desire to ever have one.
it's a rock. Like it is just it doesn't interact. It just sits, and the only time you interact is when you feed it, and that's it.
That's true. Fair enough.
I would do aquatic in a heartbeat if we could have diamondback terrapins. In a heartbeat,
I'd probably get like one of those big Waterland tubs
I
and set
would
it up. I could
do
probably
it
do that.
in a heartbeat.
So you guys need aquatic turtles. Get it set up now for when they do offer a way for you to keep them. Then you can be like, all right, we're already ready. Just
I'm
plug them
hoping
in.
that maybe there's like.
I don't think there'll ever be a way for us to keep them here.
Well, but
They-
it
the way
might
the-
be because we're teachers. Like
No,
there's
they
a
won't.
loophole.
because the way the law is written is it's the entire species, not even subspecies, the entire
Right.
species.
It's
of diamondback
because of
terrapins.
Texas.
Mm.
Well, no, it's because they're native here, and even though they're native to the entire East Coast,
Yeah,
we can't have them. Even if we got like ones from New Jersey or whatever.
we'll have to move to a different district before we can, or a county before we can get
venomous. Yeah, can't have venomous in this county either.
Man, that's a good point, folks. Make sure you're looking at your county regulations. A lot
Right.
of times you get sideswiped. I don't even know mine. It's too hard to find.
Some of them are tricky, and
Some
then they
of them
change stuff.
are.
It's we'll get into that because I want to get into that with
I
the
was
question
gonna say
we
that
asked
gets
this year.
into the question.
sure,
I was
yeah.
just thinking
But,
I'm bouncing all over.
But yeah,
the place.
what so for us, I'll let you know what we keep. We keep tortoises. So we moved to Texas 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years in June.
This is our 3rd year teaching. So we moved here 2 years ago because it's the beginning of teaching. So, but our house in Louisiana, my in-laws still live there, and that's where most of my tortoises are. I have big sulcatas, and I had a huge yard there, and so they're taking care of them because our yard here is the size of a shoebox.
It's crazy.
And I can't bring them here, and it kills me. But we do have a couple of small redfoots here that we have indoors right now because they're not big enough yet. And our hopes are to get a house with a yard again because I'm like I said, I miss my sulcatas. And then it's a hate-love relationship with sulcatas as a species. As a person who owns them, I fucking love owning them and playing with them and feeding them. But then the other side of me is like, I've never bought one. They've all been given to me because people couldn't keep them anymore. They're a horrible fucking pet for the general public. Stop buying sulcatas.
Yeah, in fact, the only tortoise that we have that we've bought are the two cherry heads that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the two cherry heads that we have.
Which is a far better tortoise for someone who wants a quote unquote big tortoise that is still able to deal with a quote unquote big tortoise.
I do have a three-toed eastern box turtle that was gifted to me for my classroom.
Oh, I forget about yes, there is.
Alice
Gotta
is
love
wonderful.
3-toes. Box turtles are fantastic.
They are vicious.
She's phenomenal.
They are
Mhm.
vicious when
In
you
fact,
feed them.
I had a student today ask me, when is Alice coming back? I said, as soon as the elevator. My classroom's on the 2nd floor. And that tank,
No, it's a 40-gallon tank.
I
That's
do
heavy.
have to have help
Yeah,
carrying
that's
up
heavy
the
tank.
stairs. Like that one, I
Mm.
cannot do by myself.
But like you freaked out people when you fed her worms and she went to town on the
It
worm
was awesome. We
Yep.
loved it.
because they rip.
The kids were great. It was like the other adults around campus that were just like walking through the hallway because the way our classrooms are set up, I can keep animals in the window so you can see them from the hallway into the classroom.
Oh,
Like
gotcha.
I
That's cool.
moved like tables in front of the window, and so it's a display. I'm also the zoology club sponsor at the school. We started a zoology club last year because I teach English, so you don't think the English teacher should have 7 class pets in her room, but it's okay. I'm the cool teacher. So yeah, so we were feeding, and some of our paraprofessionals were walking by, and they like stopped and came back, and then we're like freaking out in the hallway, and the kids were like, "This is the coolest thing ever."
Should let them see when you feed them a mouse.
I was going to say, throw a
Okay,
hopper mouse in there.
I haven't done a mouse with her in front of them. I've done it like I've seen it. And then the hornworms, we did those once, and those were so messy. You guys talked earlier about like crocodilians being messy with their food. Box turtles get messy. Like you don't think this cute little turtle could make such a big mess.
Oh, no, they're vicious for
but
protein.
she like uses her paw to like scrape stuff and it gets everywhere. And oh man. Yeah, but she's fun. They're the only 2 animals that haven't made it back to the classroom yet. Everything else is up there. Their tanks are just heavy.
Well, so what you have a turtle in there?
She's fun. She is a lot of fun. She's named Alice after Alice in Wonderland because she's very curious about everything that goes on.
Which is another one. I think box turtles, that's another thing because of legalities in certain places, but box turtles make a far better shelled pet than many of the things that are offered to people as pets.
And in the state of Texas, to legally have one, it has to be gifted to you.
You can't buy them.
It can't,
and you can't have more than 2 or 3, I think.
That part I don't know, but this one was gifted to me from some friends of ours who run a facility.
But again, it would be such a better pet than 90% of the other shelled animals that people buy as a pet turtle or tortoise.
It would, but they're under a lot of pressure. The box turtles, unfortunately. So there's a lot of protections in place for them, and for them especially is for good reason. But they are excellent little animals. Like they're hardy. I mean, even there's a guy close to me who lives in central Indiana, Matthew Hills, and he has Florida box turtles. That's one of the species I keep. I leave them out from like May to probably sometime in September. I'll pull them back in. He leaves them out all year. He brewmates them outside. Oh, wow. Florida box turtle, whose range doesn't really go above southern Georgia. So he blew my mind with that. So I got to talk to him some more because I would love eastern box turtles are my favorite. But in Ohio, they're a species of concern. So you have to be kind of careful and get a special permit and get them from out of town. And it's not really that much. I just didn't want to do it. I'm not big on inviting folks into my house.
I get that.
To inspect and whatnot.
Yeah,
I'm not hiding anything. I just don't like people in here.
As someone who had to have wildlife fisheries come search their house once, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Especially when they don't know what they're actually looking at.
Yeah. What's really cool with our box turtle is we talk about how in our area where our school is located, it used to be rice fields. And so they're building all these developments. And so there are lots of reptiles that they're going to find in that area. And so my kids will tell you, like my students and my zoology kids, they'll tell you, like, you know, if we see something, we don't pick it up. We don't mess with it. We leave it alone. There are people we can contact if we need to get the snake moved somewhere else, or like we can have our parents call Ms. Lewis. And like they know, okay, this is what we do. And so they're, you know, teaching others as well, which is cool.
Yeah, it's always best when you can teach it to them to take action on their own and kind of have control of that. That's awesome. There's a process in place and they're following it. That's, I mean, that's how you pay it forward. So that's cool.
We had box turtles at the zoo. It was a small exhibit. They stayed there year round. We never took them out of there. During the winter, they were in there. Everything. I mean, they were native from there. But it was funny. Once a year, in like in the baskets for the pools around that area, you would find little baby box turtles because they come hatching and crawling out of that exhibit, and you'd find little baby box turtles around. And then
daughter is messaging me, you should tell this story. You should tell this story. These are my favorite. And I'm like, we've talked about all these.
So our buddy Drew Schultz says we can have 6 box turtles per person in the household. So technically we could have an army of 18 box turtles.
18.
We'll call that a creep.
A creep.
We'd be creepy with 18 box turtles. That's a lot. That's a lot. Plus they have to be 18 that you find. You can't buy them. So like you have to go find 18 box turtles.
No thanks.
And then you take them from the wild, which feels weird.
I don't like
18 box turtles from the wild. That's another one. Like we have Texas tortoises down here. And Texas tortoises are super protected.
Yep.
But God, that would make such a better tortoise pet than like it would be great here because weather-wise, it's great. Size-wise, it's great. But they're protected.
They're protected and they're gopherous, right? That's their genus.
Yeah.
So they're gonna dig you a nice big burrow in your yard too.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing. So with my sulcatas is people always talk about sulcatas digging, but I've never had that issue with when I worked at the zoo with sulcatas or when I've owned them. But I've always found you have to give them somewhere to go. Yeah. So like a lot of people put them in a yard and wonder why it digs out of their yard or digs underneath their house. I'm like, well, because you just put it in a yard. My tortoises have a bunker. It is a cinder block sand fill. Like the blocks are filled with sand. It is all it withstood multiple hurricanes.
That freeze.
We had a freeze come through and it stayed 80 degrees in there once it was.
And it was like negative 12 or something ridiculous like that.
But as long as you give them somewhere, those big sulcatas won't dig. But man, I see people like all the time. They get a sulcata and they put it in the yard and they goes, it dug under my house. How do I get it out? I'm like, you wait.
Yeah. Put some carrots at the entrance. I don't know.
Why'd you
They
put
are
a
cool
giant-
tortoises, though. I think they're just some of the coolest looking ones. I don't ever want one, but I do like other people's sulcatas, and I like interacting with them. I just never would have one. Did you know those things are freaking endangered?
Are they really?
In the wild, IUCN has them listed as endangered. So,
Well, we can ship
When
plenty
did
of them
that
over there.
start?
I know, right?
Just
That's common though. Like quang tongue turtles, they're a type of river turtle in
Yeah.
China. They are functionally extinct, but you can go buy one a hatchling now for like $40 because
Well,
they're so fecund in the hobby.
if they'd quit eating them in places, maybe they'd have more turtles.
Well, they're eating ours now too.
Yeah, no, I've heard they come and get
South
red-eared
Carolina
sliders.
was the big one.
Really?
That's what. Yeah, they were exporting a lot out of South Carolina because they had really relaxed laws until just a few years ago. But yeah, Southeast United States has a really impressive diversity of turtles. A lot of people don't think about the Southeast United States as having such a big biodiversity of colonians, but we're here, and each river system has like these endemic, only found in this river system turtle, and it's really incredible.
And then the pet trade has ruined that by spreading red-eared sliders everywhere.
Yeah, those things are everywhere. Not just United States; they're everywhere.
That is
I'm not a big red-ear slider fan.
I'm not, and I am, because it's impressive.
Like they're cool, but
like how do they do that? Like you just can't get rid of them. They live 60 years. They have 80 babies a year. It's like what the? It's exaggerating. They don't have 80, but they just seem to be able to handle anything. So
they almost need to have 80 babies because in the wild you have raccoons that'll go.
No, they don't. But the problem
is that not what we had at our old house?
We had those were yellow belly river cooters.
That's what it was. Just kidding.
Same
but it's
species, right? Just different subspecies. Those are both.
But they're
Trichomys scripta,
and they get big. So those female river cooters can get massive. Like you don't realize how big some of them can get.
Yep.
But yeah, red-ear sliders. It's the whole like if you grew up in the '90s, it's the same thing as iguanas. They were everywhere. Like you get, remember they buy that with a little plastic lagoon with a little plastic palm tree, and that was its.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That's it. Just put it in there with some water and bam, it won't outgrow its cage because turtles don't get bigger than their tank. Don't you know that? It's factual. People said it, so it's got to be real.
Well, they're expecting a lot of increase in like baby turtle sales now because there's that new Ninja Turtle movie coming out. It's supposed to be pretty good.
Of course, yeah.
And there's articles. I was sharing a couple last week where I do have a Let's Talk Turtles podcast Facebook page. Share a lot of turtle information there, but I was sharing them there. I'm sorry, shameless plug.
No, plug it away.
But they have all these articles now linking turtles to salmonella outbreaks, which yes, they carry salmonella, but they're making some reaches like that. Oh, well, it's these turtles like, oh, well, over the past 8 months, there's been 20 outbreaks and 16 of those might have pet turtles, but they're leaving out a whole lot. And it's a stretch without really any solid backing evidence behind it.
Like, don't put the fucking turtle in your mouth. Just don't.
So I tried to have. So I told you about this like right before school started. I don't know if I ever mentioned.
I probably ignored it. Go ahead.
No. It was the fire inspector, the guy that comes into the school classrooms and makes sure you don't have anything on the ceiling.
Oh yeah,
is that what it is? Anyways, he came through and I was like, hey, I said, I know we got some new rules with like the lights in our rooms and the plugs. I said, I just want you to know I have these things on thermostats. I have these things on plugs. They'll all be here next week. You can't have any of those animals in your room. I was like, wait a minute. Yes, I can. I was like, it's principal's discretion in this school district. This is what I do. This is who I am. This is what we have. It's all approved and safe. Well, if anything smells, you can't have it. And I said, none of my animals are dirty. Well, you said you have a turtle. They carry salmonella. I said, I have a box turtle in a not aquatic enclosure.
Also, please tell me what the smell of salmonella is.
And I was like, I said, you're going to give me, something here that's legit? Because right now you're just pulling stuff out of the air. Oh, I was so mad.
But again, everybody's going to buy cheap turtles and not, there's so many like, when people ask me that they want a tortoise, I'm like, well, go find a Russian tortoise. Get you a Russian tortoise. It'll be a fine pet. It's the size of a box turtle. You can keep it in your house its entire life. But everybody sees little sulcata babies for $100 or less at a reptile show, and they go, "It's so adorable." I'm like, "Now it's adorable. Now it's not adorable at 90 pounds, running through your ankles and breaking your leg because it wants to get to the other side of the yard." Or whenever Katie would walk out with
trying to eat your toenail.
red toenail polish and try to eat your toes because it thinks they're cherry tomatoes.
Yeah. I live in flip-flops. It's a problem.
That's all right. You're in the South. As long as you're avoiding fire ants.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, I could see that being an issue. But people forget that those are the third largest species of tortoise.
Yeah.
You have Galapagos tortoise, you have Aldabra tortoise, and then there they are. Right there, like 100+ pound tortoises.
Because not enough people see a full-grown adult male or see what a full-grown adult male can do.
Yeah. Kind of makes me think of the question that I was late to getting to you guys. It's like, should reptile shows have some information regarding a lot of these animals that are issues, like clearly posted, or like the laws? Like in Ohio, you can't have snakes that are over 12 feet. So, but you can sell reticulated pythons because they're not 12 feet yet. Should places? I'm not saying they should or shouldn't. It's just a question that I had. Like, should these shows kind of have a little fact sheet about some of these things that are like, hey, yeah, you can buy a retic now, but once it gets 12 feet, like they're technically, if you don't have a permit, they're illegal in Ohio. Or we have a lot of problem with, like you said, like surrendered sulcata tortoises. So should we have like adult sulcatas or a diagram of like, this is how big the sulcata gets for people to kind of see and educate themselves to prevent some of these impulse buys? Or should we just let people determine that themselves? I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's a tricky thing. So I vend a lot of shows, and one of our sponsors does shows, and a bunch of my friends vend shows, and that's their livelihood. And I get it. The problem with sulcatas is they are so fucking good at making babies, and so many of them. And you just know that not everybody that buys one needs one. But at the same time, we live in America, and it's hard to be like, you don't need it. But it feels different when it's a living thing, right? It feels different saying someone doesn't need something when that thing is not going to be able to make it in those conditions. And as like I said, as someone who has never bought a sulcata and has had probably 7 of them in my lifetime, kind of like bearded dragons. I've never bought a bearded dragon, and I've had probably 7 of them. There's just certain animals you're like, maybe we need to go a little deeper into it. And I see people sell some to people, and they don't tell them full truths to make a sale. And I have a problem with those people. But I also have a problem
frequently.
Well, I also have a problem with the sellers that sell stuff and they go, well, I told them we're good. I'm like, I get it, but maybe if that's the mentality you have, then sell an animal that fits that mentality. Don't sell a sulcata. Sell Russians, and only Russians or Redfoots or Greeks, something that can stay manageable. If your thought is, well, they're going to buy it, I told them everything they need to know. Okay, then don't sell them a retic, a berm, a green iguana, or a sulcata, something that even if you tell them now when it's a baby and it's cute, and they're not completely listening to you, because what do they know about a 100-pound tortoise? They don't know what that looks like. But I'm like, you do as the person selling it. You know what it looks like. You know what it's. I mean, anyone that's been around large sulcatas knows that they do whatever the fuck they want. Like you can want them to go one way, and you can want them to behave, but when they're having a bad day, they're assholes.
Yep.
That's another one.
They eat a lot and poop a lot too.
God, don't they poop a lot?
Huge.
It's ridiculous.
And tortoise poop is awful.
It really is.
And massive.
It is awful. And especially if you're feeding a lot of like grocery store greens, which most people do, even though they probably shouldn't be eating it, then you're going to get wet, stinky turds all the time.
Well, that was a good thing. I had a big 40 by 50 yard for them. And when I realized when I got to that size, they didn't eat enough to ruin the grass. They ate enough to keep the grass finely manicured.
Yes.
Perfect.
But no longer were they having big brown spots of dirt where they ate all the grass away. And I was like, oh, okay, now I have this. I understand this
sweet spot for the size.
And they're eating grass, tons of grass. And I was like, good. But one thing I do miss from working at a zoo is we did have Aldabras and Galops as well. And we had a massive male Aldabra. And you talk about a personality. Like they know people. They know their surroundings. They know what they can get away with and what they're going to do. Like they are not dumb. His name was Big Al, and he 100% knew what the fuck he was doing all the time. And like when it was time to go in, he knew when it was time to go in, but he knew that he had his own time, and he's 500 pounds, and his own time is gonna be whenever he wants to, and you can't do shit about it.
Yeah.
And giant tortoises are like as close to magic as you can get. I love them. I can't think of anyone who's met one and was like, this is terrible.
Right.
Exactly. Well, he would do the whole thing where he'd stand all the way up, stretch his neck all the way out, and then want you to scratch his neck, scratch his legs, and rub his shell. And he would just stand there fully stretched out at 500 pounds. And it is an impressive thing. And then you just think about, fuck, sailors used to catch these things, flip them over on the back, and throw them in the bottom of a ship and eat them. Like, that is the weirdest thing to think that at some point that was a common practice, just to go to an island, catch a bunch of these big old slow moving tortoises, and then we'll just slowly eat them for the next few months because they're not going to die.
Common is an understatement. I mean, hundreds of thousands of these things were
entire islands were wiped out.
Yeah. Right. I mean, there's a not to nerd out, there's a really good book. Oh crap. What is it called? A Sheltered Life. It's all about giant tortoises and how the islands were discovered and how many, and it's really interesting. It's not too dry of a read. It is a little, but it's not too dry. But if you like giant tortoises, definitely read it. But that's why they like reference ship logs about apparently these giant tortoises, especially galops, were unbelievably delicious.
Yeah,
the oil that they had just tasted great. Of course, you balance that with, well, if you were on the open ocean for 4 months and then you ripped open a tortoise to eat it, it probably did taste really, really good. But yeah, that was, I mean, they tasted good. They lasted a long time without feeding them or giving them water, and you just flip them on their back and they couldn't do anything. So you didn't have to worry about anything. You just threw them down in the bottom of the ship and you just went on your way.
And
these were whaling stops.
Well, they had no fear of humans because there was no predators. Nope. I mean, there's these massive tortoises that got massive because there are no predators. Can you just imagine being the first ones to get one of those islands and seeing one of the true giant tortoises that no longer exist now, but true, there were probably well over 600 pound, close to 700 pound Galapagos tortoises, just massive 150-year-old tortoises that they ate. But I mean,
yeah,
it's like when you see those old pictures of like redwoods. Yeah. Well, you see these old pictures like redwoods where someone's standing like inside of a tunnel in a redwood, and like those trees don't exist anymore. I think of that with like certain animals. I'm like, God, just imagine how big they were.
It's sad to think about it. Like, there's several now species of Galapagos tortoise that are all spread out the islands.
Yeah.
There were several species of Aldabras across those islands as well, on Mauritius and Seychelles, and those were all wiped out. There were giant tortoises that coexisted with dodo birds, and we wiped all of those out. So there were several other species of giant tortoises close to the Aldabra, and we just killed them all. So it gets really sad. So yeah, Sheltered Life is a good book. It's it's sad overall because of like what you read in there, but it gives you a lot of insight into these giant tortoises. Why you should probably love them so much, because they're really awesome.
What I'd love to see is the big like the saddleback galops that have the tall shell for raising their necks up. You never see those in zoos. You always see the other ones, but like I just see pictures of them. I'm like, God, that is such a cool looking tortoise that is just so specialized for where it lives. I just want to see one of those in person, just a big old saddleback Galapagos tortoise.
Can't even remember which species those are, but the Vulcan Darwin tortoises are the ones you see everywhere, the common ones.
Yeah.
In zoos. I say common loosely. And those are all domed carapace tortoises. But yeah, it would be sweet to see a saddleback. There's not many. If there are any in zoos, there's not many. I mean, I'm talking like probably could count to 5 total individuals.
It's funny, the Houston Zoo just opened up a big Galapagos exhibit, and the funny thing about it is it has almost no Galapagos animals, because they're all protected. So like, a lot of like similar animals, but with signs explaining, they have Galapagos tortoises because we have tons of those in the country, and every zoo has them, and you can get galops. But like, they don't have Galapagos iguanas, obviously, like marine iguanas or the pink ones or any of that. So they have like blue iguanas in there, and they explain why they don't have them. They don't have the Galapagos penguins. They have Humboldt penguins because they're close enough and they're somewhat similar. It's just that over and over. I'm like, this is a really cool building and a cool exhibit. But I'm like, there's so many things I know are on those islands that I just want to see, and y'all don't have any of them other than the tortoise, which I've seen my entire life.
Yeah.
Well, the Houston Zoo does have a really good collection of turtles and tortoises. They've got a really good turtle guy there who's really into it. So you should be able to see quite a diverse collection of them.
Like it looks like something is wrong with it.
So Katie just looked at a picture of a saddleback. That's
I didn't know what it looked.
These are evolved to eat stuff off the low branches of trees, so that big saddleback allows them to lift their neck higher up and get things out of trees. Because
that makes sense.
They're
it
on an
looks
island.
like something's wrong with it.
Yeah, they were on an island, not enough ground cover, so there's a lot of tree stuff.
Oh yeah, here's some of them like standing. Jeez, that's crazy looking.
I mean, they get way up there.
I had no idea what a saddleback looked like, so I Google things a lot on this show because I don't know
They're
what we're talking about.
They're a freakish looking Galapagos tortoise.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, the Houston Zoo has one of my favorite looking turtles. What is it? It's the like black-breasted leaf turtle or something like that.
Heck yeah!
Looks goofy
Excellent
as fuck though.
turtle.
It's got this goofy face with these big old funky eyes. I'm like, that is
black-breasted leaf turtle. That's it.
This is the coolest looking little turtle.
They're amazing. They don't get very big. They're very room temperature loving turtles. They can survive in a much smaller kind of habitat than a lot of other tortoise species. And they are just wicked cool. They kind of have almost like independently rotating eyes big bug eyes where they just stare at you. They are awesome. I've worked with them. I've never kept them, but there's a great little book out there on them from Anthony Pierleone. If you're not familiar with him, he's in the Turtle Room, a nonprofit, and he has a whole book that's great. If you want to know anything about them, it's a good book to have.
It's every time I see it.
I'm just talking about books, guys. I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome.
I have tons of books. I don't read them. But
James doesn't read them. I read them.
I do collect them. I got tons of reptile books.
I've read a lot of the books on the shelf.
A lot of books are for reference, and you use them when you need them. They're situational.
No, he doesn't.
I'm not saying he does. I've
got the complete carpet python. That's a reference, and some boa books.
Have you ever looked at it?
I've looked in it.
You've looked at the pictures.
Yeah.
You look through the mutations and stuff like
I've got like some boa books that are from like the 90s that are outdated, and the information's probably not the best, but
it's probably a $750 book now. You should.
I think our kid's watching us on YouTube or something because she said, if I saw this, I would be so scared. And it's the same
tortoise
pictures of the saddleback that I saw.
Yeah, no, that little leaf turtle though is just like that's a cute turtle. I can see, and it doesn't take the problem is water. I don't think a lot of people are set up right to take care of a water turtle properly, and I don't think a lot of people that get them understand how messy they can be without the proper filtration, because they're gonna shit in that water. They're going to shit in that water a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They are. Yep. You need to have a good volume of water. You need to have strong filtration, and you need to have an understanding of basically not the wild nitrogen cycle, but the nitrogen cycle as it applies to aquatic life support systems. And that'll help you a lot. But they're not a lot of the canister filters that you can buy. They do well, but you need additional stuff.
Yeah.
You need more mechanical filtration and like biofilters and towers, and there's a lot that goes into it, but it's easier to get a tortoise.
So much. So that's why I said box turtles. Box turtles so much easier.
Captive bred Russian tortoises are awesome. Yeah. I would advise, if you can, to try to get captive bred. They're a little more expensive, but you're going to have a lot more fun with it. Russian tortoises are imported in droves.
I like pancakes, but they've gotten so damn expensive.
Holy cow, haven't they? I have one pair. They laid eggs for me this year, but they were infertile, so I'm hoping next year. But one pair, and I never see them. So if you like interacting with tortoises, pancakes are not.
Pancakes are not the one for you.
I feel like if I have them well set up, then they don't ever want to see me, and they are.
That's probably.
If I walk into the room and see them out, they like freeze and look at me, and I'll turn around and like change water in like one of my cages, and then turn around and they're gone.
Well, another one,
little ninjas.
Another one is a shame that it's so protected, and I get why things are protected. I'm not saying fuck that, get everything, but spider tortoises.
Yeah,
like that would be a cool little pet tortoise if they weren't super protected. But
then they're super expensive. But breeding them is very, very difficult. The incubation of their eggs is just insane. They literally take 8 to 10 years to be breeding size to even get an egg.
But even like breeding size, people see breeding size spiders and like, is that a baby? Nope. That's it.
Yeah, one of the smallest species out there. I worked with the northern spider tortoises at the zoo, and they are fun, cute little things. But there's some great ones. I think like just Eastern Herman's tortoises, Western Herman's tortoises are classics that are really, really hardy and are produced in like captivity pretty regularly, and they make great pets too. But
and the problem with big tortoises is a lot of people think they're like dogs. I always tell people a large sulcata is not a dog; it's a cow.
Yeah.
It is a cow that can run through a fence.
Good point.
It will shit all over the place, eats a ton, and will run you over. It's a cow. It's not a dog. It's not going to cuddle up. It's not. And every time I see someone who has, there's two things I hate watching on Facebook. Someone with a sulcata roaming their house. I'm like, that's fucking gross. I've seen them pee.
Yeah, I don't understand
That is gross. But
with that being said, like we have 2 dogs and they're not even loose when we leave the house. Like they both have kennels that they go into when we're not home. Or like if our daughter, she's not with her dog is in her kennel. Like the dog is never loose in the house. Like, so I don't understand people that just like everything has free reign. Like
that's the other thing that pisses me off, and it's coming in about 4 months, maybe 3 months. It's the sulcata walking through the snow videos. My sulcata loves to walk through the snow. No, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't, because it doesn't snow in Africa where it's from. They don't roam through the snow. It doesn't. It is freezing, and you are dropping its temperature unnecessarily.
That's interesting. I haven't seen any of those yet. I'll be on the lookout, though.
Every year, I see them pop up in some of the tortoise groups, and I'm like, what? Stop it. And people will tell him not to, but, my tortoise loves it. He'll walk around the yard. It's because he's looking for heat. He's not meant to walk on snow. That is not how this works.
Yeah.
Just because you enjoy the snow all bundled up in your boots and jacket, it is not like the snow. But
I would question whether that's just someone trying to have the best interests at heart versus someone trying to get some social media attention.
For the pot.
I think it's just I think it's a person, because I've seen it happen multiple times to multiple people. I think it's, again, people who think of giant tortoises as dogs. It's not a dog. But
it is definitely not a sulcata. It's like a cow rhino.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's they're so strong. That's another thing people don't understand.
They're out of house and home.
So strong. Like it's ridiculous.
The turtle talk so far is very strong. Are we pushing away any snake folk?
No,
I don't think so.
You guys think?
I think they'll be fine.
Wait, let's go over the question real quick. I want to do the question. So
that was a great question.
I tweaked it a little bit to get a little bit more from some folks, kind of fit everything. But I said, what information do you think reptile shows should be responsible for telling customers, i.e., state laws, animal care, etc.? And we got a lot of good answers.
We did get a lot yet again. Blew up my phone.
Stephen Kennedy from Steve Snakeshore, who we had on the show. Anybody go back and listen. We talked about show laws there, laws and permits and stuff, because he lives in a part of Louisiana where you have to have ridiculous permits to be able to do the shows there.
To do anything.
Our friend Laney. I'm just gonna go with Laney. It's easier to do that. She says she feels like there should be a table display of the areas or state laws. And that would be a great idea to have it shows, maybe printouts that people can read and take photos of a map with color code charts. Because again, like you said, Ryan, you don't know the regulations in that area. And a lot of people don't, because again, local regulations and state regulations aren't always the same. And depending on where you live, some trump the other ones.
Yes.
And you don't know which one is which.
And they're not always very easy to find
or understand when you read them.
That's the part that I don't get. Like, these are laws you want us to follow, but yet I can't. Like, I should be able to easily type in something into Google and it be the first thing that pulls up, and it's not. Well,
and we've talked before, the problem is the way they're written. So we've talked here before, but Ryan, I got in trouble for selling a carpet python in Louisiana because apparently they had added Morelia to the list of things you had to have a permit to sell in Louisiana.
And we didn't realize that the law had changed.
Oh, wow.
But the law also is written as, so the way that got said was also anything that is 8 foot. I forget how they word. Anyways, depending on who you ask, it's whether is it 8 foot, can it reach 8 foot, or is it just that species that falls into that genus? And it gets, each person you ask, it gets told to you differently, and they all work for the same state, and they're all reading the same regulation. Yeah,
that's tough. All I would advise somebody at that point is to try to get a hold of somebody through email and have them try to answer you in email, so you have some sort of documentation. So if they try to get you, you're like, look, I did my part, but
right.
Finding it is difficult. Like, I find it difficult just to find state listed things. So I can't imagine county, and then I can't imagine township and city ordinances as well as real. Like, it took me forever to find chicken ordinances where I live because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do anything ridiculous or get attached to chickens and then they take them. But it took me forever to find it, and even then, the way that legislative terminology runs, it can be very difficult to understand it and comprehend. Like, it wasn't an easy read for me.
Right.
What does it freaking even mean by this? Can I have chickens or not?
Well, in the city I work in, not where I live, but the city I work in, it's illegal to own exotics. I'm like, okay, well, y'all aren't defining that properly because technically that's everything outside of domesticated animals. So you can't own a hamster, you can't own a parakeet. Fish would technically be an exotic, but it's really aimed at like reptiles. It's aimed at reptiles. It's how it's aimed at reptiles and larger, more, quote unquote, dangerous stuff. But I'm like, you say no exotics, that means that guinea pig that kid has is technically illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think some of those are written vague, not with malice, but for enforcement reasons. The more specific you get, the more you have to rely on folks in the field to be able to enforce that. And you can't expect somebody to be able to identify every little thing. So it creates issues, basically. And they're hard to correct because there's also a lot of it is directed at reptiles, it feels like, but there's also a lot of people keeping tigers and stuff, and a lot of that is like
there's more tigers in Texas than in the wild. So
exactly. So I think a lot of those laws are kind of engineered toward that, and herps fall into it. But back to that question, like, I don't know if people should or should not have those. I would find it helpful, and honestly, I guess I'm the president of the Greater Cincinnati Herp Society. And we have a table at our show monthly. The Sin City Reptile Show is a fantastic reptile show. If you're in the Cincinnati area, definitely check it out. It's monthly. But I should probably, now that after I proposed that question, I was like, that's probably an information sheet that I should provide, at least for Ohio. Like, just a couple, like, hey, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying this should influence you or whatever, but it's information that might be helpful to you should you choose to read it and, apply
or at the very least a giant, like a big poster that they can see at the table, because they'll read that going into a show or something. They go, oh, well, I didn't know that. And so that could be something helpful, because again, someone selling an animal, a lot of them aren't going to go, hey, what are the regulations where you live? Can you? I see a lot of crocodilians sold at a show, and I'm like, well, I know some of the places they live, you can't own that.
Right.
A lot of us vendors even don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be legit. Let's just be. We know usually with what animals we are working with. Like, we know, okay, I know that this is okay, because you don't want to get busted for something through ignorance, but it's to know the whole law completely. Like, if you're not selling crocodilians or invested in crocodilians, you're probably not spending too much time understanding the crocodilian law where you live. Well, so you're not going to know it.
And what killed me was, it wasn't that he sold the snake. It was that guy then turned around and resold the snake in an area where they weren't supposed to.
No, that's not what it was.
That's not what that was.
I sold it to a guy when I was in Louisiana. He lived in Texas. He took it to Texas. He sold it to another guy. That guy got busted for something illegal. They found the snake.
That's how they found the snake.
And then somehow they traced it back to people across state lines to me. And I knew why they wanted to come into my house, and they expected to find stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not what they found. They found racks and cages and everything nice and neat
and labeled.
And so that was not, they expected to find, I know they expected to find drugs and guns and tons of other shit, because that's of course what reptile people are into. But instead I had to educate them on my snakes. I'm like, yeah, this is a sand boa. And the guy's like, wait, is that a boa constrictor? I'm like, nope, it's a sand boa. And I was like, but this one's a boa constrictor. And I had to point to another one, and then I had to point to all the other, and educate the wildlife fisheries guys on what animals were, as I then got tickets for selling an animal 2 years earlier.
Oh man, go through all of that and educate them and still get the ticket.
They were like, we have to write you the ticket, because they were sent there by their boss, and they went to the truck and they came back and like, hey man, we have to write this.
I would think that conversation had an effect on them moving forward, though, a positive effect.
I would hope.
Yeah.
I was very polite about that, because I know a lot of folks would be very rude about it. I'm like, no, come on in, I'll show you, because I know, the one thing I knew I had was a Louisiana pine snake, which is protected in Louisiana. If you got it captive bred, which I did, it's fine. And so I was like, look, I do have a Louisiana pine snake, but I got it from, and before I could finish it, they already knew the guy because he was on their radar because they knew what he had. And I was like, yeah, I got it from him. And they're like, okay, you're good. But it's that damn carpet python. That's what got me. Fucking carpet pythons. And then I talked to a guy who breeds and sells carpet pythons in Louisiana. He's like, oh yeah, I called them. They said I'm good. I'm like, the fuck? It's the same. How can he doesn't have to have anything? I'm like, that's because you're talking to a different person now than I talked to, and they read the law differently.
Yeah.
But that law is written so ridiculous. And then they put it's over 8 foot was the original thing. And then they put genuses on it. I'm like, how are you going to put Morelia on there? That includes jungles and diamond python. Like, you're talking about things that get like 5-6 foot.
And then depending on how updated their taxonomy is, like if they're looking at scrub pythons were Morelia forever. If they're looking at old taxonomy, I mean,
I know someone just Googled snakes over 8 foot, and when they made that, they 100% because Apodora was on there. I'm like, 10 fucking people own Apodora. You're really hoping to find somebody with that in their collection in this state? I was like, I can probably find you all the people that own them. I was like, that is just searching snakes over 8 foot and going, this is how we're writing the law. So boas were on there. I'm like, really? My boa, like that? You're horrible. And I asked them once when they first wrote the 8 foot law. I was like, look. Because I had a boa at that point that was over 8 foot. And we asked the guy, I said, look, do I need a permit? And this was years prior to me getting in trouble for the carpet. He goes, look, if we walk in and have to go, is that snake over 8 foot? You don't need a permit. If we walk in and go, damn, that snake's over 8 foot, get a permit. I was like, okay, we're good. And then years later, I sell a carpet python and I get in trouble for selling a carpet python like I'm a criminal. Luckily, I got out of it. I think I wasn't even there. I had already moved. I had to hire a public defender. And he went and the judge threw it out. I think the judge looked at it and went, the fuck is this? And just threw it out. He nothing happened from it.
He gave it 30 seconds of his time. It's like, no.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to make a criminal of a guy that sold one snake to a dude. Yeah, I don't think so.
And doesn't live here anymore. So
yeah, it's not even in the state anymore. Anyways, let's go through some of the other ones. Our buddy Nathan Holcomb said, because everybody has a varying level of knowledge and many give an attitude about offering advice for things they already know, I would suggest simply asking if they have any questions or if they would like to know how the breeders keep them, husbandry advice and all that. Yeah, I get that. You definitely get different responses from people. You get people that come into a reptile show who let's do something. I've gone into a reptile show and I know what I'm talking about or looking at, but I'm not rude about it. But then you definitely get the ones go, yeah, I know. I've kept a fill in like generic animal here, and they're now a genius about all of them. What are you looking at?
I'm trying to figure out what the hell the chameleon is doing in the corner.
Goofy ass chameleon.
He's like, he's holding on to a vine by his
I would just
tail,
like to say
and he's stretched all the way possible.
I just still want to say out
be
to
like a random
Lee,
cricket in there.
to Lee and Amanda Reddy, who talked us into getting this damn chameleon. Screw you guys.
He's fabulous.
I say that with like really liking this chameleon. But
is that a cat or a child?
It's a cat.
Oh, okay.
I have one cat. I'm married into it, and it is
and he's waiting for it.
It's got a UTI right now, so he's isolated to a place where he's very close to the litter box. UTIs can sometimes make a cat make you very angry. So he's in there just while we clear this, but he gets a little angry sometimes, and as you just heard, that's an annoyed cat meow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you're out there, let me out. I'm like, well, stop pissing blood.
Yeah, sometimes it sounds like a small kid, so you never really know.
Yeah, hopefully the kids should all be asleep right now.
So Brandon Millichamp, who lives in Canada, he said our organization, the Alberta Reptile and Amphibian Society, hosts its own shows. We have online resources for vets in the province. We have 4x2 signs with basic care information. All vendor animals get vet checks at the show. We have care sheets on the floor. Our booth has people available to answer law questions and care help. And we try to provide as much information as possible. But people are idiots and can't read. So that is the problem.
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah.
Correct. I was just about to say the same thing.
You can offer all the information you want and people still.
Yep.
Well, I love that. Good job, eh?
You and your ketchup chips.
Yeah.
What?
You know, they eat ketchup flavored chips up there.
They sell them in the States.
You know, we sell them here as like oh, look what the stupid thing that we're gonna sell for a month. They fucking eat them there. Like it's a regular thing.
Oh, I thought they were
but they also
here.
No.
They also have poutine. So
You can't go wrong. I feel like I get that it's a Canadian thing, but it feels like a very Southern thing. Like I get that that's there, but it's fried food with gravy on it. Oh, come on.
It feels very American in general.
I really feel that was stolen. Some American moved up there and did it, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and claim that as Canadian." But come on, we're the South. We're the kings of putting gravy on fried shit. Like we're
gravy, cheese curds, and French fries. Like, come on now.
It's pretty American.
Yeah,
that's a hit right there.
We'll let Canada pretend to have that because what else do they have? Maple syrup and mousse. That's all they got up there. So you can pretend to have poutine. That seems like a very American dish to me. Let's go through some of these other ones. Jason Creekmore said the information needed to get customers through the door. I think it's talking about what the show needs to do. I think it is a responsibility of the vendors to take care of the rest. Okay. Our buddy Lee Reddy, who I was just yelling at about this chameleon that I now own. As far as reptile promoters, I would say basic info as in date and time of the expo. Also, personally walk the tables and make sure customers are not being sold anything young or unhealthy. And that's a lot of, I read a lot of these comments. A lot of them were putting the, I don't say pressure, but the onus on the breeder, the seller, to inform. That's not, and I get it. I don't think that is the show promoter's job. The show promoter's job is to make sure that the animals there are healthy so that sick animals aren't being sold to the general public. I do like the idea of a booth there with some of the regulations and laws. I kind of like that idea. And that could be something I think promoters could do. I mean, especially people that promote in a show that they do regularly in an area. You sign one time and then just use it again and again. I liked that. But a lot of them that said this one says both promoters and vendors should be responsible for knowing the state laws and be able to recognize signs of unhealthy animals. I do think vendors are responsible for providing basic info. And promoters should attempt to have herpetological societies or reptile rescues in attendance to provide educational outreach, which is great. And just not everywhere has a reptile society or club or group. A lot of times it's those vendors that travel around that are the reptile people in those areas. They're already at the show. But most of it was, the promoter's job is to promote the show. The vendors should be offering the information. The problem is I've seen, and I know friends who've seen vendors who, there was one not that long ago, the vendor sold like newly hatched corn snakes that hadn't eaten and said, yeah, just go ahead and try and feed it a live pinky and you'll be fine.
That's not at all how that works.
It was a baby corn snake. Had never taken a meal yet. Also told someone, he overheard this person tell someone when selling a sulcata, they don't need UV light.
What?
Like, you mean the animal that probably needs it like the most because they look horrible? Like, there's tons of pictures that show what happen when you don't do it. Okay. But the problem is there's those people at every show, no matter what level show you're at, good, bad shows, you have those people that are there making a sale. And when they talk to our promoter, they talk to the promoter the right way, and they talk to everybody else the right way. But they say certain things to customers that they know they shouldn't, and they're just trying to make a sale. And unfortunately, it is part of the hobby. It's not a great part of the hobby.
There's a lot of truth bending and forfeiture of facts, maybe.
And that's I don't ever want to leave anything out. So when I sell Samboas or boas or anything, I'm like, and they're like, hey, can I hold this? I'm like, yeah, you can hold it. There's a chance it'll bite you. Like I'm automatically going to tell them that it will bite them, because that will weed out a lot of folks who go, oh, wait, it'll bite? Yep. Because I need you to know the worst case scenario. I don't want you to know the best case scenario.
It's funny you say that, because I tell my students that too. I'm like, look, I've never been bitten by this animal, but that's because I am paying attention to the animal and I'm doing this, and this is how we handle it, and this is what we do if it changes. I'm like, this is a move at your own risk situation. What do you want to do? And because that's the first thing kids ask you is, does it bite? Does it bite?
So here's my
does it have a mouth?
Yeah, exactly. As someone that works at a zoo, that's our answer to everything, right? Anything with a mouth can bite, because you get that all the time. But so, like, again, the shows we do around here, I hold them in high regard quality wise, but it's some of the vendors I don't trust. So Katie's coworker's sister, they just bought their first snake. And
okay, so I still need to get some more information.
If it's their first snake, we think it's their first snake.
It's their first snake ever.
So hold on, before we say what species, I'm gonna let Ryan. It's their first snake. Do you want to take a guess at what they bought?
Ball python.
Nope.
It's non-venomous. I will tell you that.
I hope so. Then Burmese python or reticulated python?
No, it doesn't get big. It doesn't get big.
Oh, man.
But it does have really sharp teeth.
You get a green tree python or an emerald tree boa?
An emerald tree boa.
Imported, probably?
Oh, 100%. I know what show it was at, so I know who.
Damn.
100%. And I'm like, well, that's not a very good first snake.
Yeah, my coworker this year, she's funny. She loves that I have so many animals in my room. She's not a big fan of the snake, but she is like, it's cool. It's back there. I just don't have to go near it. Like, she's like, the kids love it. That's all that matters, which I respect more than I can ever put into words. But she texted me. She was like, my sister-in-law got a snake. And I was like, okay, I'm going to need way more details.
She sent the picture. And I'm like, sent the picture. I'm like, oh, that's an emerald tree boa. What the fuck?
Yeah. She told me it was green. And I'm like, she got a green snake? I'm like, this is her first snake? And she was like, I think so. And I was like, there's no way she got an emerald tree boa or a green tree python for her first snake. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe she got a green tree python. Those are a little more common, captive bred. I like never even imagined emerald. And then I'm like, hey, you give me a picture of that? Because I was telling him about it. He's like, get a picture because we can probably figure out who it came from. Sure enough, like we knew exactly. I was started asking like 2 questions, and I had all the information I needed, and I was like, "Oh goodness!"
And I'm the king of buying. My first snake was a horrible first snake, and he lived for 17 years. I don't know how. I should have killed him way earlier. But I bought a Brazilian tree boa, a Brazilian tree boa, or Brazilian rainbow boa as my first snake. Horrible first snake. I recommend it to absolutely no one as a first snake. But I will say they trumped me. An emerald tree boa is a worse first snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to tell people when they're looking at their first snake, like whether they make good or bad pets is really up to them. But
yeah,
your odds, I kind of let them know the odds. Like your odds of having success with an established corn snake are really high. Your odds of having success with a northern emerald tree boa are not nearly as high for a variety of reasons. A bite is going to suck. It will be defensive, especially at night. It may have issues. A lot of these ones come in with a variety of things going on, but yeah, I mean, but you can always be surprised that, like you said, that like you had a Brazilian rainbow boa, like probably somewhat of an impulse buy. I'm sorry 100%. To assume. But you learned and you got it, and there's a lot of people like that, but just your odds of success are just so low. I would hate for that to be someone's first experience with a snake is all. It's like, get a corn snake, you can handle it. They come in a variety of colors. They don't need any really careful temperature guidelines. Like your odds of success are high, and then if your success is high, you're probably going to enjoy and have a good experience with that animal and have a positive outlook on herpetoculture in general. Whereas you get lit up by an emerald tree boa, and you're like, this thing is horrible. Why would anybody sell this to me?
Yeah. And it's not a baby.
Kind of sours the situation.
It's an adult,
they don't import babies.
Yeah. It's an adult. It's gonna hurt. I've seen the teeth on those things, and they're horrifying.
The jaws alone. I mean, it's got a bulldog.
Its name literally stands for dog. I mean, because it looks like a dog. So, but that's where I kind of put some onus on a show promoter. I don't put onus on a show promoter because the person is selling the animal, but I put them on onus on the show promoter because the person's allowed to come back and do it again. Right. I understand as a show promoter, you can't always be responsible for what they sell, but you should have vendors you can trust to not sell an emerald tree boa to someone as their first snake. And I get it. They're trying to make a sale because they need to make money, because they need to pay for the hotel and the gas and the table and all these things. But I guess that's a problem when it comes to this hobby, is when it becomes a job for some people, unfortunately, they do have to lower some of their standards, whether they want to or not. You have to, if you need to be able to pay rent that month.
Yeah, and that's where down to that.
Well, and that's where it becomes a problem when you're dealing with live animals, is when you have to do that. As a hobbyist, I can go to a show. If I go to a show and don't make anything, I've already accounted for not making anything at that show. Yeah, I don't sell anything. Yeah, no, I'm good. I didn't sell anything. I accounted for not selling it. But
little devil's advocate here, though, at the other side, you don't know what like your friend in this case, you don't know what the buyer is saying. You don't know what information they're providing, and that plays a big role too. I'm a little I'll ask a few questions. A lot of times you can tell as a vendor, as someone selling, you can tell within a few message exchanges, like get a good idea if this person understands what they're getting into or not. And I'm not usually too worried about it because carpet pythons and rat snakes are typically very hardy. And not necessarily worrying about it. Usually I have to tell them, don't worry, it's not going to get 7 or 8 feet. It can if you want to go crazy with feeding, but the odds are you'll have a 4 or 5 foot snake. But yeah, there's onus everywhere. And the one thing I'm kind of ambivalent towards that question I posed. Like, I think there's cases for and against. There's liability reasons for and against for show promoters, and there's a lot more to think about. Because I'm not a show promoter, but I know how involved it can be. But I do our local show, the Sin City show. They do a really good job of weeding out bad vendors, and I really am impressed to see that. There's a very well-known vendor who would come there and sell the sickest, freshly imported stuff over and over and over again, and then it just hit a point they got rid of them. So the person's not allowed to vend there, which is excellent, and that's what we need to be. That is what need to be doing.
Yeah, I get tired of seeing people sold animals that are not setting that person up for success, and it happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. There's a lot. I mean, the nasty truth of a lot of herpetocultures, there's a lot more animals that die every year. I'd love to understand the statistic of how many animals actually just die on a yearly basis as people are learning which ones they are. It would be sad to look at, but I mean, I'm one of those people. I have definitely, lost a bunch of animals through my learning and through making mistakes, but it happens. It's a sad truth, but I don't know how you combat that. It's who do you put the onus on and that's why herp societies probably need to do a little better job. And we have awesome folks that man the table for the Greater Cincinnati Herp Society, and they're full of great information. We have fact sheets and stuff, and but yeah, there's always more you can do. But all you can do is give information, and then people will make their own decisions and do what they want. So, and I'm not going to really rally against that. It's just you do your best. You say, here's the facts. If you still want to go through with it, I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to do it, that's fine too. I mean, I'm only invested in giving you the information a lot of times, and what you choose to do with it. Hopefully I've helped you one way or the other.
When I don't know. It's just so tricky because we deal with live animals, and it's different than someone selling goods, right? Mm-hmm. And you talk about how many animals die. How many people have seen an adult bearded dragon? It's such a common animal. And how many people that have bought an adult bearded dragon or bought a baby bearded dragon got it to adulthood? Or how many people, we talk about sulcatas, right?
Hopefully.
Or retics. Look at how many retics are sold nowadays. Where are all the adult retics at? Because I don't see them. You'd think people would be posting these adult retics online, but you don't see a lot of them. You don't see a lot of adult sulcatas. There should be, because a lot of them are sold, but you don't see a ton of adult sulcatas.
How old are ours now?
Born in 2007.
Oh, okay.
Or well, I don't know when Notch was born, but the big one I think was around 2007.
Oh, nobody knows how old Notch is because
he was found wandering around next to a road. So
yeah, and they brought him to the zoo, and our director was like, "Here, take him home to your crew." And
he's named Notch because he's got this giant notch into his side from just malnutrition.
Oh, poor fellow.
It almost looks like they had him tied on a leash, and that's almost what it looks like.
They had him tethered,
it's like a little notch. Yeah,
but it's only on one side, so it's
only on. It's
but I've seen some that were not tied that did not get UV and did not get proper nutrition, and they get that stuff too.
Really?
With shells, kink in, and
he's cool tortoise though. He does not let it slow him down. Don't feel bad for him.
No, he's goofy.
I don't feel bad. I just said, "Oh."
I'm only ever given males, and I'm just like, "All right, guys, you just have to fight each other because I don't know what to tell you." Just that's another thing. Is people are like, I want a lot of tortoises. No, you don't. Have you ever seen 2 male sulcatas go at it? It is not. That's everybody sees those videos online of the tortoise flipped over and the other one coming over and hitting it until it flips back over. His friend helped him out. I was like, no, that asshole flipped him over.
Yeah,
that's the reason he's spinning around on his back.
I will never forget though the day that Notch finally got the one up on the bigger male at our house.
Flipped him.
And he flipped the bigger male. And you would have thought he was ruling the roost. He was walking around with his head high that day.
The first fight he's ever won.
I was like, oh God.
It was just because the big one took the wrong step and lifted too high.
Yeah, and Notch got right underneath him.
Ran right under him and pushed him over.
Yeah. Celebrate while you can, Notch.
He did. He did.
And then Speedy got flipped back over and went after him. Yeah. So, but I don't know. Shows are a weird thing. I love shows, and like I've got friends at shows that I also at the same time like. I wish you didn't sell stuff. Like I like you as a person. I don't like your business practices.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that, but
I know it's kind of like it's a rock and a hard place.
But there is also so many great folks doing an excellent job vending as well.
Absolutely.
So I think we've been I felt like I've been like harping on the negatives, but there's a lot of people who are setting the mark and setting the example too, and so there's a lot of great role models and examples out there for us to look up to and follow.
We've had a lot on this show because we'll go do live shows from the expos, and we had I can't remember his name, but the guy that did the indigo that breeds indigos, super knowledgeable on all the indigos and taking care and raising and breeds. I'm like, that was awesome. He's doing it the right way. And then our friend David over at Eclectic Reptiles, I don't know anybody that does what he's doing better than anybody else on earth. His stuff is always amazing and always out to give information. But like I said before, it's tricky because people, the first person that gives them information, that becomes the gospel to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be that first person. You can't let someone else be that first person because they'll always go, well, so-and-so told me to do it this way, so I'm going to do it that way. And I'm like, but so-and-so is not the right person to listen to.
But it's not just reptiles when you talk about that. Though.
No,
it's a lot of different things in life. Yeah. Well, so-and-so said to do it this way, or so-and-so said to do it this way, or I've always done it this way. I mean, we're both teachers. We see that every day.
Watch Facebook groups. The first person to comment on how to care for something is the person that's only had that same thing for a month. Yeah. But they'll tell you exactly how to take care of it.
First impressions, man, they're important. And I think what I've seen a lot of people do, unfortunately, is usually if you hear something wrong, a lot of herpers do this, but not all of them. But you're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's bad. You can't be doing that. You have to. And then you're setting yourself up for disaster by talking to someone, by coming at them that way. Be like, oh, that's one way to do it. I like to do it this way, and I find it's easier. And a little like if you sell like, you're not trying to blast somebody. You just, oh, okay, well, here's some more information maybe you could use to maybe influence your decisions later on. Yeah. And I mean, I definitely was one who was like, that's probably a terrible way to do it. Why don't you do it like I do it? And then as you get older and a little more experienced and hopefully a little less angry at stuff like that, you're like, okay, they're just doing what they think is best on the information they have. And I can share what I have and see if that's something they find useful. And hopefully that'll change it.
One of my favorite things that I was told one time in a workshop, and it was a quilting class. Like it had nothing to do with animals. It had nothing to do with teaching, but we had put something together and the instructor goes, I really like that you did this way. If that works for you, great. Something that may work easier for you would be this. And it was just like the whole way she phrased, because it was a correction. Let's just be real. It was a correction. I had done it wrong, but she didn't phrase it like, oh, you're wrong. It was that worked for you. If you're comfortable, go for it. This might be easier for you. And that's people don't know how to talk to each other nowadays. That's the big issue.
Well, we talk in definites. Like it's definitely got to be this way, but in reptile keeping, there's a ton of ways to keep certain animals right. Like completely naturalistic environment, cage with all this stuff is one way. Also, in some animals, a simplistic cage, it's easy to clean and easy to take care of, is also another way that it can be done. Neither way is technically wrong. But we have a tendency that if someone keeps something one way, it becomes this is the only way you can do it. Yeah. So the Reddies in the chat said, according to Facebook chameleon groups, that they're the worst ones.
Oh, they are so bad.
You're not allowed to offer any other possible way to keep a chameleon other than the way they say you got to keep it, and they will attack you. And it is,
You got kicked out of several groups
on day
within
one,
like less than 24 hours.
Posting a picture.
Them.
I just posted a picture.
All he did was post a picture, and they were like booted. It was ridiculous.
I had like a 2-month ban where I could see stuff, but I couldn't say anything because I posted a picture with my chameleon cage that has fake plants in it.
Our 4
I'd probably leave that group, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm in like 3 chameleon groups, and the problem is they're all like moderated by the same people. They're in all these groups.
You can see the cage on the screen. It's freaking huge.
Back
like
there. Yeah. He seems horrible. Like
he is cruising tonight though.
So upset. But yeah, but again, there's positive. You've got to be the positive person. And I said before, our reptile hobby, a lot of people in our hobby are very withdrawn. They're not huge people. And so talking to the public sometimes is hard. But if you have a passion for an animal and you're taking care of them and you've kept them for a long time, you've got to find a way to talk to people. And, the Reddies who are in the chat are amazing at it. They'll talk you into.
They'll talk you into a chameleon. It's a beautiful thing.
But
I won.
But they talked me into getting it after years of going, I'll never do it because they'll die. And then they gave me the right information, and we haven't killed it yet. So we're doing pretty good.
Jim and I have the same birthday. That's why we got him. We share a birthday.
I still think they lied to you.
I don't care.
I think they lied to you and make it sound. His birthday's like March 3rd. It's nowhere near.
I have a hatch date certificate that says we share a birthday.
Man,
that's all that matters.
They just lied to you.
I don't care.
It's only a lie if you choose not to believe it.
That's right.
I wanted to run through some of the things over in our Reptile Gumbo podcast discussion group. There's some things that got posted.
Sure.
A lot of things to watch. There's a new one
a lot of
on
videos.
Netflix. There was Steven Spielberg, and he's doing Life on Our Planet, which looked really interesting. The same way they did Our Planet, or I don't know. It's a very interesting thing on Netflix. Another one coming out is the one you saw.
It's
the new Adam Sandler movie.
I think it was Tracy that tagged you in it, maybe.
It's
Class Pets. And it's all about them and they even talk about how like the 5th graders are coming in, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. This is 100% how my animals feel in my classroom.
But it's horrible. They cohab this cartoon lizard with this turtle.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. These cartoon animals are going to die. Adam Sandler plays a cartoon like iguana. And I don't know. It looks funny. It's a cute movie on Netflix.
I've not seen that one. I'll look for it.
Well, it doesn't actually come out. Sorry, I have a 4th graders or Jeremy. It comes out in November, I think. Maybe. It's not out yet.
November 21st.
Yeah, because it comes out Thanksgiving break.
Oh, okay.
So.
I haven't even seen any previews for that one yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see. Travis Wyman posted some cool stuff. Some things. Long-nosed horned frog. That is too long of a name.
Long-nosed horned frog.
Long nose.
Talking about megafreeze. I'm gonna look it up.
Pelobatrachus nassutus.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yep,
I got nothing.
Also, blunt head slug snake. What is up with these?
Those are cool. They suck slugs out of their.
It's weird. Its species name is boa. It's not the genus, but the species name is boa. That's an odd one. There was some cool
Pelobatrachus. Yeah, sorry, I'm still back there. They changed the genus. Used to be megafreeze. Now it's Pelobatrachus. That's one that I'd love to see folks spend some time with, because that's a species that was imported a lot and it's just not reproduced much. Those are the species I find more interesting. That's how I got into like hingeback tortoises and canixies.
Hingeback tortoises are really cool.
Yeah, I tend to like them. I'm pretty invested in the Holmes hingeback tortoises.
Is this long-nosed horned frog? That's not the same thing as a Borneo horned frog, is it?
Bornean eared frog, or you think of Solomon Island?
Maybe that's
Bornean eared frogs, and then there's Solomon Island leaf frogs.
Maybe think of Borneo eared frog.
If you look up the Solomon Island leaf frogs, they're very similar but different. I think that might be what you're thinking of. Those are cool because their life stage is terrestrial. They lay their eggs on land, and then they hatch. They go through their whole metamorphosis and then hatch out of the egg as a frog.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, they're pretty wicked. They're cool. Those are the Solomon Island ones. I don't know anything about the megafreeze or the whatever they are, Pelobatrachus.
I'm gonna pull up this so people can fuss at me later. But go ahead and share the screen so I can show some of the stuff. This is just a cool one as far as iguanas go, because they're iguanas. Just some cool photography that Nathan Holcomb posted. Our buddy Max is over in Komodo. So Max posted a video or a picture of him taking a picture of a Komodo.
Still didn't get eaten, James.
He hasn't gotten eaten yet.
That makes me sad. I was supposed to go to Komodo and help with the Komodo survival program through work for 2 weeks doing captures and studies there. I was supposed to go over there at the end of February in 2020.
Oh man, that sucks.
The worst.
All you have to say is that date, and everybody's like, "Oh fuck."
That's rough.
Yeah. I was ready to go until they shut it down. They're like, "No, we're not doing it anymore."
Our
son of a bitch.
Our buddy Max has let us down multiple times. He didn't get.
No. You
it's us.
rephrase that.
It's all of us.
It is not us.
Let all of us down.
You.
He was supposed to get eaten by a grizzly bear and went to Alaska. Didn't get eaten by the grizzly bear.
No, but he got some amazing shots of him.
He went and took pictures of whales. I was hoping to get eaten by a whale. That didn't happen.
Oh, those were also great pictures.
He's now went to Komodo. Got pictures of dragons. Didn't get eaten by a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Just really getting let down. Like, just get eaten by something, Max. Get eaten by something.
No.
It'll make him famous. That one guy got eaten by grizzly bears and he became famous.
I love how you just skipped through the brainworm.
There's a brainworm. It's weird.
Creeped me out.
I'm going to skip right past it.
I
Travis
read the
Wyman posted
article and
brainworm.
it grossed me out.
I'm getting past it. It's really creepy. This video was weird as hell.
I had to watch it like 3 times because I didn't understand what I was watching.
I didn't watch the rest of the video of all the other animals because I didn't care. It was just this snake flipping over and over again, and because of its ringed pattern, it's like it's trying to make you dizzy.
Some of this other stuff was pretty cool. I didn't watch.
Is that a Gennard?
Yeah, so it's. I mean, it's just all wicked little animals.
It's like a sea robin or something.
That's a flying Gennard. It's a really fun word.
These 2 ospreys fighting, or one just stole a duck or something from it.
It took it from the other one. Like this.
Fuck that. That is someone stupid.
This moose just like hangs out in the woman's car with her.
That's stupid people that deserve to get hurt. That's a moose.
Yeah.
That's not people that let monkeys get on them are fucking crazy.
This scares me also. Yeah. Primates frighten.
Monkeys scare the crap out of me. As someone that's
worked in a zoo, you understand.
And I don't care how big or small they are. The small ones, in my opinion, are scarier.
Please tell me it pooped on her. I hope it pooped on her. I just don't get it. I don't. Oh, screw that.
Oh yeah, this guy.
That's an orangutan with a baby.
With a baby, and it just came in their house. So a lot of this stuff is not happening in the United States.
Well, no.
Obviously.
No. The stupid ones where people go, like the moose most likely did. That's definitely that thing's just taking a bath and they just went into their bathroom and was like, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up in here.
Yeah,
and now there's one just drinking Cokes. Oh, maybe just okay. So this is an orangutan that's used to being around people. This is not something that just wandered out of the jungle.
The next video,
he opened a bottle and is drinking a bottle of Sprite.
Yeah, this guy, you can kind of see it in the video. It's small on our screen.
I'm going, that's Australia.
Yeah, he's there like,
a red belly
Dad,
black
don't
snake.
move. It's just going to move past you. And it does. The snake literally just moves past.
Seen tons of these videos where the octopus just squeezes out of a little tiny hole on a boat because it's a bycatch product from netting.
Yeah.
And
they're like.
That would creep me out.
They're trying to figure out a way to like get it off the boat. And it
won't go
like, bless them. Like they really are trying to help it out here.
And just plops into the ocean.
Number 9. The next video is my favorite. Though. It's the little baby sea turtle. But watch because this part's really sad.
Does it get eaten by a fish?
Oh, it does. No, it's better.
No.
I was like, oh.
That's why they have so many.
That's life.
Yes.
That's life. Yeah.
I want to see manta rays jumping out of the water.
Oh.
Like I'd love to see that in
this
person.
one was pretty funny too. It's a guy in like a hunting thing.
That's a bobcat. Screw that. Bobcats don't scare me as much as like if a cougar walked up on me, but still, I've been around bobcats that I'm not happy that, they're not fun cats to be around.
Yeah.
Certain parts of the year.
I'm like, no.
See, at least this person's smart. They're upstairs in their house with the bear in the yard.
Yeah,
there are tons of videos.
Like, just comes in. This is probably in Texas because it's so freaking hot. And the bear is like, I'm just going to cool off in your swimming pool. Like, no big deal. And that's what the bear does. Like it just chills on the steps.
Yeah, it looks like a black bear.
And it's just hanging out. The people are upstairs in their house looking through the window. Like, what is happening?
See, where are these guys out there?
There's
another black bear.
Yeah, they got back in their car though. So
yeah, as someone who's driven through a park that has black bears and we saw them, I did not have the urge to get out of my car and walk towards it.
No.
It's not Yogi.
No.
It's just not. But I do. See, there's another. They let monkeys climb on them.
That kid's freaking out too.
That is the right.
Why is he doing that?
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, why are you letting wild animals?
Oh, screw that. Zebras are scary. Everybody thinks a zebra is like a horse, but it is not. They are not domesticated, and they are strong. I think
if they were like
right
horses, people would be riding zebras, and you don't see people riding zebras.
No, they can grab a person and just throw them. What the hell is they coming up on? Bigfoot? What is that?
It's a moose.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
That's an animal that scares me.
Yeah.
Moose scare the crap out of me. They're massive. I think people underestimate how big they are.
Yeah.
Is that a whale
Any mammal
shark?
that's bigger than me is freaky.
Right.
That's a whale shark. I'm not afraid of a whale shark.
Mm-hmm.
Those are that one's and that's literally just like, I think maybe they were like underwater diving or something. And
so my first experience with the zoo I ended up working at, I went to go visit before I started there. And I had interned at a zoo that had monkeys, and the rule was don't get near the spider monkeys. They're on an island. Don't go out there. They'll mess with you. I get to the zoo. One of the keepers is leaving for the day, going home. She's the one that always takes care of the baby.
zoo in Louisiana.
Yeah, she always takes the baby primates home. That if we have baby primates, she had 3 young spider monkeys. I go and we're talking.
They're on leashes.
Nope, they weren't.
Oh, they weren't?
Nope. And then one jumps up on my shoulder, and I just freeze. And they're like, "It's okay." I'm like, "No, nope, no, it's not. I'm gonna need the spider monkey off of me, because all I can imagine the spider monkey's gonna bite me. It's gonna grab me. I need it gone. It's cute and adorable until
I would go eat lunch with them on my lunch break because I didn't have anybody else to eat with in the education department.
Yeah, no. Spider monkeys scare me.
When I was at the Bronx, they had langurs. If you're familiar with langurs.
Yes.
Langurs carry a strain of herpes that is lethal to humans.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So ever since that, I was like, I'm just going to stay away. Primates are really cool critters that I like to see as a visitor in the zoos.
Yes.
But I've never had a passion to work with them. Ever.
No, never.
Especially, they don't all carry that, but that's enough to.
All I need is one. Just one. One will ruin it for you.
Well, it's like that tick that makes it so you can't eat pork
or meat. Can't eat meat
or meat or something.
Yeah.
If you get bit by the tick or something.
Yeah.
What would I do with my life?
Well, no, but because now that we know Dr. Ben Morrell, he can tell us where to go to get the pork that you can eat.
Oh, that's
he
right.
was on that
that's
project.
Right. He was on that project. I remember that.
Where they made pigs you can eat.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm sure they're expensive, but you can still eat bacon.
There you go.
So life's not over. I need to go listen to this video. I'm not going to play it now.
We can't really play it
here. It's a barking gecko.
And it's pretty funny. He's a cute little lizard.
Our friend April used to have barking geckos.
The next one.
Okay, this is the one I posted. This is the one where
James would probably be in jail. Let's just be real.
I'm not going to lie. FedEx guy sends a text to the person after he delivers a package. Says, "Hope in Nebraska says, I hope you didn't have a pet rattlesnake," and he killed the rattlesnake on their doorstep. Now, look, the person posting this probably was happy about it because the general public would be. If I had video footage on my doorbell camera of someone coming up and killing a snake on my doorstep, I would lose my ever-loving shit on them and everything about them. I saw this and it made me sick. And of course, you go through and read the responses. He's a hero and everybody loves him because people suck.
It's a good opportunity. That's what we call a coachable moment.
Oh,
just let them know. Good intentions, just ignorance kind of shows through, and that's what most folks are. I think we're sometimes isolated and into our world. Internally, I would be raging, but I would say, "Hey, where you at? Let me talk to you." And that's about the best you can do. Like, did you feel threatened? There's people you can call. There's no reason to kill an animal. I appreciate the intention, but
if I had time to get home, breathe, slow down.
Yeah.
But in the moment, had I seen that, I don't know if I could have collected myself.
It's tough.
So yeah, that's what we had on our page for the week. So, but we're getting close. Almost time to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you haven't been here the whole time, Katie, but
been here a lot. Thank you very much. And I was being a very responsible parent.
I wanted to talk more about Ryan's turtles, and we didn't get to all of his turtles.
Somebody needed to be responsible. Well, then it sounds like Ryan may have to come back for another episode.
I'm all for that because we never have anybody to talk turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never get to talk about turtles or find out more stuff about turtles.
We did spend a lot of time talking about zoo stuff.
I know, because I always like talking to other zookeepers.
It's good. It's good to talk about other zoo stuff.
Because other zookeepers understand.
If I want to come back on sometime, you guys want to talk turtles, that's always cool. Also, there is a pretty good podcast out there where you can learn a lot about turtles.
Yes.
It's called Let's Talk Turtles Podcast. You can stream it anywhere, or I have a website, rad-reptiles.com. I've got a blog on there and a whole bunch of stuff, trying to make it just a portal of information. You can stream the podcasts on there as well.
And for those folks that like to binge listen to podcasts, you have several episodes already, so they can go through and listen.
Would you say that your podcast is child friendly?
It is. They don't.
100%.
Ours is not.
Ours started different. My wife and I started it during the pandemic, and she works with zoos, but she's a water quality specialist. So she's got a little bit of a different angle. And then she kind of lost interest a little bit, got busy, didn't have time for it. So there was a reimagining of the podcast, and Tom came in and expressed some interest, and kind of it's a more typical podcast format now. But it's really picked up. It's a different direction, but we've had some really great guests on it. We're really we publish every 2 weeks, so we've got some in the can that are coming out, and the one that came out today is we had Chad Brown from Ship Your Reptiles.
Oh yeah.
And he answered a lot of great questions. Just sometimes I think we get, as reptile folk, we forget some of the basics. So Chad did a great job of going over like, what even is Ship Your Reptiles? What is a third party shipper? Like, how does that even work? And a lot of the basics behind that to make people feel comfortable with shipping phase packs, things like that. So I think he did an excellent job sharing a lot of really pertinent information for both like people who have never shipped anything or used one of these companies, as well as folks who are seasoned in that regard. So it was a really cool. I couldn't thank Chad enough for coming on. And I think it's a great episode. I'm biased, but I think it's a great episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we tricked our friend Debbie from Reptiles to You into being on an episode once at a show. So I knew we wouldn't be able to get her over the internet because that's too much technology. She wasn't gonna do that. But we trapped her at a show and had her talk. I shipped out a snake a few weeks ago for the first time in a couple of years now. And of course, nervous the entire damn time. Like I'm just always so nervous shipping out a snake.
A lot of my students in my zoology club are always looking for good podcasts to listen to.
Well, that's a good one.
Obviously, ours is not ever getting brought up in conversation.
No, this one's good. There's a shit every now and then.
I can't help it.
I feel like that's okay.
I have to edit myself all day long around kids. So like when I'm here, I'm like, nope, I got to get it out of my system or else it just builds up.
Yeah, I feel you there. That's my work mouth. Yeah, because I'm around my kids all the time, so I really watch it. And
our kid learns cussing from someone else.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Not me.
It's actually not. That's the really sad part. Like
it's not me.
It's bad.
I'll say anything else going on. Oh, I've got a Mexican rosy boa that is never going to give birth. Apparently,
we're supposed to get rain this weekend.
We're never getting rain. Texas will never get rain again.
We might. It's on like 4 days.
We will never
next week.
We will never get rain again.
Percentage of rain.
All of our yards
really need the rain. You just need the low pressure to come in. That's what triggers them.
No, our yard needs the rain. But
you need the rain.
Yeah.
All of our yards have shriveled up. You can see they've all pulled away from sidewalks.
Yeah.
And there's giant cracks in them now.
It's bad.
It's looking rough out there.
My backyard is entirely clay. So
geez.
It looks like a barren landscape. We're experiencing drought conditions too.
Sucks, doesn't it?
Gosh.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful.
But your drought conditions aren't 110 degrees, right?
No, not really.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, last week, the whole week, our real fields were in like the 110s, 115s.
Yeah.
And our temperatures were like 98, 100, but no, they weren't actually 110.
Sunday it was 110.
Yeah, the heat index I think got up to like 118 at one point.
Yeah, no thanks.
In case anybody's wondering, that's too hot. In case Also on Sunday was our daughter's outdoor rock concert.
It was so bad.
Oh wow.
The rock concert was not. The rock concert itself was wonderful. They sounded great, and she did a beautiful job on her.
We luckily
guitar.
our time was at 6 p.m. and not 2 p.m. But still,
that's so rough.
Mm-hmm. The things we do for kids.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ, kids suck.
Exactly. All right.
Anyways, so if you want to get a hold of you, we know that there's the Let's Talk Turtles, but also they can get a hold of you through your website. You have a website. No one else has websites anymore, but
I don't know why I love it. So I update it pretty regular. The new job in summer, my blog has gotten a little over. It's a little past due, but I had a blog post explaining that, so that's okay. But yeah, you can go info@rad-reptiles.com or message me on Facebook, either personally or through Rad Reptiles is fine. If you have a reason you want to get a hold of me, feel free to reach out.
Then also
Awesome.
the Reddies reminded me, if you want to hear about uncommon chameleon species, tune in this Friday. I'll be hosting a podcast with Lee and Amanda Reddy and Craig from Primo Chameleons. He breeds Parsoni, so giant ass Parsons chameleons.
I was just about to ask, are those the really big ones?
The chihuahuas with curly tails that can climb trees. Tune in on Friday. We'll post the video will get posted on our Gumbo podcast page and over on their page, and we'll be talking chameleons. They'll be talking chameleons. I'll be asking stupid chameleon related questions because
you're just running the equipment. Let's be real.
I just know that Parsons are gigantic. That's what I bring to the table for that conversation.
So I guess I'm hauling our kid to all of her obligations on Friday.
Yep, I'll be here talking about gigantic chameleons. So, again, if you weren't here for the cage and rack thing, so
no, if you want to reach out to Robert, lsreptileracks.com.
For cages, racks, acrylic stuff, signs, stuff you carve in for laser
some
or
rodents.
CNC.
Don't forget.
If you need rodents near in the Texas area, check out Little Shop of Horrors. VivTech products. Got to get you some UVB bulbs from VivTech. Use code Gumbo22, save 15%. They're amazing people over there. I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else. And go check out my snake that I'm pretty sure didn't have babies. Oh, I have rats in the garage that I need to feed out.
Okay.
But it's only mediums. It's just medium rats because I forgot to pull them the other night.
Okay.
I realized I know this is recorded, so I probably shouldn't say it. I may have too many snakes.
We have it on record, people.
Oh, with that said,
we
I'm not
have
getting
it on record.
No, with that said, I'm not getting rid of anything.
Oh, I know you're not.
It's
but
just I thought I pulled enough rodents for everything.
That's fine. You know what you can do
And
to
I
make up
didn't.
for that? You know what you can do?
What?
This weekend, you can help me move my box turtle into my classroom so we can have our closet back.
That's fair.
Yeah, but that's a 40.
But then we are not quarantining anything in the closet for at least till January.
But that's the quarantine space.
Nope, not till January.
I still have snakes in there being quarantined right now.
But they're little; that they don't count.
If you want to get a hold of us, it's Reptile Gumbo Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, at gmail.com. See us at the next show. Conroe. We'll be at Conroe in 2 weeks. Come see us. Robert, myself, Katie will all be there.
You will.
We'll be recording some stuff there. So come by, say hi if you come to the Conroe show.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with somebody. I don't have anybody yet, but we'll be back next week with somebody.
Ryan, stick around for a minute.
Yep. Ryan, stick around just 1 second. Good night to everybody else. Goodbye.